They wonder what I would do if one day I had superpowers. This question worried many like our main character, but he has a chance to get real superpowers. Syndrome Station. A guy Kim-san enters the arriving train. That's the name of our main character. Skinny, short black-haired introvert studying at the high school in Manju. He likes to read manga where he prefers charismatic villains rather than pious main characters. Yesterday, this inconspicuous guy got superpowers a week ago on behalf of the main character. Jun Saab and I were walking home from school and thinking about what to do when suddenly we were called. It was a gang from T-Young School for fun. They started beating us to death. Thinking I was going to die, I grabbed some garbage and threw it at them. As a result, the scumbag I got into wanted to make me eat it. I tried to resist, but the forces were not equal. After swallowing this bowl, I don't remember anything. I only remember that I suffered all this time knowing that no one would help me because I am an orphan. A week later, on behalf of the main character, when I woke up, I felt that there was a desert in my mouth. Opening the refrigerator, I found only a Coke. After drinking it, I remembered about those assholes who beat us up. Out of anger, I clenched my fist and threw the clenched jar to the side, not noticing how much it was crumpled. I went to get water, went outside where I got angry again. Remembering those freaks, I hit a pole nearby. Boom. I was very surprised by my strength. There was a decent hole on the pole. Crack. Unable to withstand the weight of the lamp, he fell, cutting off the power supply system. The screams of angry residents began, because of which I ran away from the scene. Not understanding what was going on, I ran home where I began to think about my new strength. When I saw the jar near the trash can, I was surprised by its shape. I took a coin to test my strength. Fuck, it's crazy. I crumpled it up like a piece of paper. So my experiments began with renewed vigor. I've tried a lot of things. Tear up an entire book. Easy. Break the frying pan. Easy as pie. Suddenly I had a crazy idea. With super strength, do I have invulnerability? I took a kitchen knife and hit the other hand with all my might. Bam. The knife broke. I don't understand how I got superpowers. I went to the roof to find out my limit. I wanted to find out how high I could jump. And jump. I started to feel that I was getting hot because of the high speed. I could not open my eyes. Finally the impulse went out and I stopped opening my eyes. I looked around. What? Suddenly I was in space. Suddenly I realized that I was starting to fall. After a while I landed in some desert in China. Bam. The landing was not pleasant. I don't remember how many days I lay unconscious, but I remember exactly how it seemed to me that every bone in my body was broken. When I woke up, I examined myself and found myself completely unharmed. I was able to get home very easily. I just need to run fast. Kim-san's house. Kim-san was laying on the couch and watching TV, switching channels. He came across a channel with an interview of the hero. The hero talked about protecting citizens and catching villains. Cheers of joyful people were heard, but the main character did not see anything special in him. In his opinion, this hero is a simple show-off because the villain he caught sucks. In Kim-san's mind, if he had become a villain, he would have done it better than him. Suddenly he realized one thing: he can become a villain himself. With his superpower, he would be a cool and attractive villain in comics. According to the plot, the villains are rich and charismatic and the heroes are always dealing with problems and getting from the antagonists. The guy became more confident in his decision after reading the manga. I will definitely become a villain, said Kim-sang with a frightening smile on his face. High school. Kim-sang was sitting in class and bored. It's been 3 days since he decided to become a villain. He was determined, but he didn't know where to start and what to do. His fuse was slowly going out and he was thinking about becoming a hero. The bell rang. Jun Saab came up to him to ask about his condition and absenteeism. The guy started telling how he would beat these jerks if they fought honestly. Then he would beat them. To which the main character accused his friend of bragging and lying. Their conversation was interrupted by Lee Jae-yoon, a girl who likes Kim-sang. She asked about his absenteeism and whether he had become a slacker. Jun Saab was outraged by her selective him, to which he hugged him. At this moment, the main character stammered that he was busy praising her beauty and his thoughts. Lee Jae-yoon said that Kim-sang would not miss lessons and she would keep an eye on him. Left. Jun Saab said Jae-yoon has a cute face, but she's a kid. He asked his friend about her seduction. From these words, anger filled Kim-sang, to which Jun Saab laughed, saying that every dog in the area knows about the feelings of the protagonist to her. Their conversation was interrupted again, but it was already third-year students who collect money from students every week. Kim-sang didn't like it all, which made him angry again. After they took the money from Jae-yoon, the main character told them to get out of here, but to third-year students did not hear him. One of them put his hand on Kim-san's shoulder and asked what he said. The main character was scared of this and could not repeat what was said normally. Confused, he just handed over the money, after which they left. One of them hit Kim-san and said he would keep an eye on him. Worried about Jun Saab after they left, he asked if everything was fine with Kim San and threatened the high school students that they would meet again, although he did not tell them anything when collecting money. After school, Kim San sits on a bench and thinks about what happened. With his strength, he can array stones into powder and their skulls would split once or twice, but he couldn't do anything because even with such strength inside, he didn't change. He's still the same coward who was afraid even of these punks whether he could change. The main character began to think about today's collection of money, collecting money. For sure he can start to engage in extortion, but because of his character, he began to think about the ethical side of the issue. That's somehow wrong to take money from ordinary people, but he decided that he would take it from that school gang because they took this money from others anyway. Kim San's house. Kim San was sitting at the table and making something. It was his new mask. After finishing, the joyful guide began to praise his work and even gave a name to the mask, but soon blushed from this. Kim San decided to check his work and put a mask on his face, but everything turned out to be not as joyful as he imagined with the slightest movements of tour. Being in a desperate situation, in the end, he decided to just put on a medical mask. Every day, Kim Sang made circles around the T-Young school, but he could not catch them in full force. Sometimes meeting with other bandits, he decided to take money from them, but seeing their faces he ran away from fear. It was the second week of the main character's festivities. During all this time, he could not rob anyone, but he was very proud of himself as if he had already become someone significant. During this time, he had already gotten used to their disgusting faces, but he was still afraid to stand next to them. He decided that he could find someone simpler when he saw two students in the dark school uniform of the Too-Young school who were not so scary. Trying to gather his strength, looking in the mirror, he began to repeat it himself that he could. Then the alley to Too-Young school students were standing in the alley and talking about their antics. One had red hair, the other yellow. When suddenly they were called out, it was our main character. He threatened them to give their money, and for every 10 that he finds he will beat them. From such a speech, Kim Sang blushed with embarrassment, but the two bandits ignored everything. They thought they were being accosted by some kind of psycho and started digging into Kim Sam. The confused protagonist tried to pull himself together, but the bandits began to extort money from him. One of them was about to hit the main character when someone stopped his hand. It turned out to be the hero whose interviews and had seen on TV, the hero of Respol. Usually he does not deal with childish disassembly. Another person does it, but in this case, he could not pass by. The same alley, Respol advised the bandits to go home, to which the red-haired man took out a knife saying that the heroes are the same ordinary people. Kim Sang remembered that he had seen this hero on the news. Respol was surprised by this, but did not get confused. He said that children nowadays have completely strayed from their hands since they carry knives with them. The bandit with a knife saying that he was not joking rushed to the hero, to which he snapped the blade of the knife into pieces. Surprised by this, the bandit lost touch with reality and did not expect a blow from the hero, after which he flew a couple of meters back. At first Respol wanted to pull jokes on them, but the attempted murder changed his decision. The yellow-haired man who was afraid of such a force was taken aback, to which the hero told him to take his friend and roll home, advising him not to use a knife during a fight, to which the schoolboy angry shouted that they would not just leave it, but after the evil look of the hero, he abruptly began to praise him. After the departure of the two bandits, Respol complained about the current children and said it was time to amend the law on minors. When the two of them left, it was Kim San's turn. Respol asked what he was going to do. He said that if our main character wants to do such things, then he needs to gain strength, but Respol does not advise him to become a bandit. After the hero's departure, Kim San was twisted with anger. He promised himself that he would rather die than receive help from the hero. He realized that no matter how strong he was, he remained a pathetic coward. A sense of shame engulfed Sam. He was disappointed in himself and very angry at his own weakness. This was the first time he had experienced such intense anger. Suddenly, his inner voice spoke to him. He pushed the guy to kill. He asks him why he was putting up with all this. It was easier to just kill than wait. Why he was wasting such a huge force. An inner voice asked Kim San if he was afraid. He said that he would help him do everything himself. At the same time, a group of schoolchildren was walking through the alley. They were discussing what plans when one of them noticed Kim San, who was kneeling and holding his head. The young man who noticed San introduced himself as Song Chanyel, asking who our main character was, and not getting an answer he got angry. They thought that he was not responding because he was beaten, while the inner voice of San provoked him. Chang Yel picked up a metal stick and was about to hit San with it, but the voice in San's head was pushing him to kill these scum. San did not want to go to the murderer, but the voice did not stop. He could not stand it. He got angry and hit Chang Yi, who fell under the hot hand, tearing off his arm. The main character did not understand what happened. Like the victim himself, he did not understand where his arm was, but he began to feel pain in his shoulder. Unable to withstand the painful shock, he fell dead into a puddle of his blood. Friends of the deceased began to run away, calling Kim San a monster and a murder. After everything that happened, the main character began to realize what he had just done, namely killed a man. Unable to withstand this, he ran away from the scene of the crime. News yesterday: in one of the alleys of the Ascension district, the body of a young man was found. The age of the deceased was 18 years old. The victim was Song Jang Yel, the second year of Jang-un High School. Approximate time of death 10 minutes past 11. The morgue. A man in a doctor's gown told about the incident. The criminal cut off the victim's right hand, after which the student died as a result of acute blood loss and traumatic shock. The hand was cut off with a sharp object, presumably an axe. Rispol, who was told this, blamed himself for the fact that the crime occurred in the place where he was doing his rounds yesterday. He understood that the hand was not cut off with a sharp object because eyewitnesses testified that the criminal did it with his bare hands. According to them, he was incredibly strong and ferocious, to which the doctor was indignant and said that it was impossible, but he was sure of it, because the witnesses were there with him. He knew several people who could do it. The doctor apparently also knew them, but he just said that he assumed that an evil hand was involved because a simple person is not capable of such a thing. Another man in a bathrobe said that the criminal was wearing a mask and asked if Rispol knew of such. The hero began to suspect Kim-san because he saw him in a mask on the day of the crime, but he did not know what happened after he left. Rispol said goodbye to the doctor and left to meet with them. Somewhere on the street, people were peacefully going about their business. The weather was fine outside when suddenly there was an explosion. Uncomprehending people saw an evil hand in the dissipated smoke. It was a huge purple villain. With quick movements, he pierced the man next to him through with his hand. People began to run away in panic, but the evil hand was not alone. There was another big gray-skinned villain with him, dressed in a yellow mask, underpants, boots and gloves. The fleeing people noticed a man who did not run away from the villains, but specifically walked in their direction. It turned out to be the hero Handel, dressed in casual clothes and glasses. The evil hand noticed a man who was taking off his clothes, and recognizing in him Handel, the strongest man on the planet, jumped away from him as if scalded. The purple villain said he wanted to check out the rumors which say that unlike an ordinary person, he is incredibly strong. Not surprised by this behavior, the heroes as the villain would check them in any case. He began to insult the evil hand, provoking him. The monster could not stand the ridicule in his direction and jumped on Handel, to which he formed a lightning bolt in his hand and cut the villain into two parts. Seeing this, So when the fiery devil, the second villain, rushed to the hero, to which he called So Wanzel, the spirit of the Holy Virgin, with the help of some kind of talisman. The villain of the size, which was like the hand of this, made him was just swatted like a mosquito, after which he disappeared. People who saw their idol and how he easily coped with the villain surrounded him and began to praise him. The embarrassed hero, who was asked to take a picture of his little fan, could not refuse. After that, the girl asked the hero if he would marry her when she grew up, to which the confused Handel jokingly replied that he would be only glad. Suddenly, people began to ask for a photo in a crowd. A man in a suit and dark glasses saved him, saying that they were calling him and it was urgent. Picking up the phone, Handel heard the voice of Rispol, who told him about yesterday's incident and asked him to gather all the heroes tonight. Grigori is a team of the strongest heroes, dominating all other teams on Earth. The headquarters of the Grigori team, Rispol told about the crime and its details, from which it can be concluded that someone is now committing atrocities that they still did not know about. Bloody Lynx is a member of the Grigori team. I thought while they were all called, it turned out that because of the death of a high school student. He asked if high school students could not cut off an other's hand in their time, to which Master Jim, also a member of the Grigori team, said that if Rispol had gathered them all here, then it was a serious matter. Rispol explained that the victim's hand was not just cut off, it was literally torn off with his bare hands. Even he is not capable of such a thing. Hearing this, the heroes were surprised. The Russian blue breed of cats, a member of the Grigori team, said that if Rispol is not capable of this, then there is nothing to think about the other heroes. They would not be able to create such a thing. Rispol said that of all the heroes that he knows, only the cat and Handel have enough strength for this. The lynx was indignant. He asked Rispol that he thought if he could not, then the lynx would not have mastered. The hero stood in a stupor from such a question, but when he woke up, he said that naturally the lynx would not have been able to do such a thing. The offended Bloody Lynx asked how long he had been receiving Rispol for something. He decided to further anger his teammate. Esther, a member of the Grigori team, who saw their quarrels every Friday, compared them to her grandfather and father, who for a drunkenly. Their quarrel was interrupted by a cat asking where to find Dark and whether they could interest us mattered to her. According to Rispol, she is skipping the meeting again, perhaps somewhere in a dark alley. She is wedding criminals. Handel concluded that now a man with incredible superpowers appeared on their territory. It could be a hero or a powerful villain. Kim-san's house, from the first person of Kim-san. I was sitting on the bed with my legs hugged and thinking about the recent murder of a man. I saw the news where Chan was shown, but I was absolutely not tormented by guilt. Suddenly, some voice spoke in my head. He started telling me that I did the right thing. I don't have to be afraid because I can kill everyone who gets in my way. This is my essence. Something got stuck in my head, and I changed. The month has passed since the murder from the first person of Kim-san. Lately I have been skipping classes and continuing to wander around the district in order to take money from someone. I don't feel guilty about that incident, and so far everything is going well for me. Now I am not afraid of these disgusting faces of Gopnik. Suddenly, I saw two guys who were sitting in an alley. I decided to approach them, called out to the men coming closer. One of them decided to hit me, but I calmly dodged and hit him in the jaw. Previously, I would have been scared of him, but now I don't care. It may be because of how often I began to see them. I didn't meet anyone except Gopnik. They regularly take money from them. I should have thought of this earlier. I'm in a surprisingly good mood. I was thinking about living in this way and expanding such a business when suddenly someone called out to me. It was Jae-yoon. She asked what I was doing here, to which I removed the mask from my face out of harm's way. I decided to change the subject and asked what she was doing here. She said she was worried about me because I haven't been going to school for a day. Seeing the safe and sound, she drew attention to the thing in my hands. I told her that there was nothing there. When asked why I don't go to school since I'm not sick and the message that she came to me, I was surprised and thought that the teacher asked her, but it was not so. Suddenly a fist flew into my face. It was Jae-yoon. She covered her face with her other hand and laughed, then hit me several times. It was very fast. Then threatened that I was a corpse if I skipped again. After my beating, she smiled and said that if I understood then she would go and I had to come tomorrow. All beaten up, I said that I understood everything and offered to accompany her. Although with such a heavy fist, she herself would get home perfectly. Refusing and saying that she was no longer small, Jae-yoon left, and I could not say that I was seeing her off. Kim-san's house. Kim-sang was lying in bed and thought that because of all these events, he had completely forgotten about school. He wondered if he needed a school at all, but remembering that Jae-yoon told him his answer was yes, he must come. High school, and Manju-san walking down the corridor was called by his friend Jun Saab. He asked about the absence of his friend. The main character said that he was busy with business, to which his friend started talking about San's lies because for sure he just started an anime marathon. Arguing, they reached the classroom door. Opening it, Kim-san's love saw them. Jae-yoon was glad to see him and hurried him. Suddenly someone shouted for everyone to sit down. It was the third-year students who came to collect tribute, but this time the main character has changed a little. A school and Danju, one of them, shouted for everyone to sit in their seats for a more convenient gathering. Kim-sang forgot all about it, but he didn't sweat it because he was already different. He himself became a predator. A third-year student with short hair, who apparently was their leader, told everyone to get 501, adding that it was quite a bit. He heard people because it was not the only class from which they collect money. While they surrounded Jun Soba, the main character compared himself to the president with a past. He noticed that he was not afraid of them at all, because he had already seen enough of these bandit faces. When it came to Kim-san's turn, he decided to act out a scene. Rummaging through his pockets, he said that he had nothing to pay with. The schoolboy who ordered everyone to sit down got angry and hit the main character. He believed that he was mocking them. The one who came to take the money from Kim-sang remembered him and the incident that he caused. Sam, trying to restrain the anger that came from the realization that he was slapped by a man who has absolutely nothing, an inner voice began to incite him again, telling him to kill an unpleasant person. While Kim-sang was restraining himself, one of the third-year students approached the suicide bomber to ask about what had happened, to which he waved off and said that they needed to go to the next class, threatening the rebel. Kim-sang asked the already departing third-year students where he should wait for them. The leader, who did not understand the question, asked the main character again. He was not afraid to repeat his question. Jun Saab, dumbfounded like the whole class by San's behavior, began to ask him to apologize. The third-year student again decided to threaten Kim-san with a question about what he had said. In response, the main character wants to know if he is hearing problems, asking where to wait for them. The enraged leader wants to hit Sen again, but the suicide bomber is saved by a ringing bell. The third-year students were alarmed, fearing that they would fly from Tajin. After telling Kim-san to wait for him after school, the leader received a humiliating response. That humiliated third-year students began to threaten the main character, but he was interrupted by the teacher who kicked those out of the office. Leaving, he said that San should stay in the classroom after lessons, otherwise he would pursue him until he caught and killed himself. The third-year students left under the teacher's shout. When they left the office, Jun Saab ran up to Sand in a sweat, asking if he had any problems with his head, to which the main character calmly said that he would fulfill the requirements of the suicide bomber. At the same time, Lee Ji-yoon was worried about Kim-san that kept silent. During the lesson, Kim-sang thought about what he had said and whether he had overdone it because he could be revealed, but thoughts about how he looked in his eyes. Jae-yoon dispelled these thoughts. After school, Lee Ji-yoon told San about his escape, but the culprit of her experiences did not understand the reasons for the escape. Shocked by such an answer, she did not give up trying to convince a classmate, as San himself did not worry about this at all. Not understanding the main character's train of thought, she wanted to know if he was going to fight because in her opinion, he was behaving like a little boy now and she was ashamed of it. These words hurt him sad and he tried to justify himself to the girl he liked. Their conversation was interrupted by the third-year students who came, who were surprised at the fearlessness of the main character. Guan trying to save a wayward friend to the last, threatening to tell everything to that feature, but they didn't care about her threats. They called San to come out with them, Kim Sen trying to calm Li Gu and by saying that he would not fight, to which the band had said that he would not have to because they would beat him themselves. The words of the protagonist did not come the girl, but she was powerless in this situation. Kim Sen left with 3 third-year students. On the roof of the school, they went to the roof of the educational institution where there were already 2 schoolgirls who began to discuss San and his physique. They decided that they would join the beating of the main character, but the guys refused them, saying that they had a serious matter here. There were 6 people on the roof and total 3 third-year students too. Apparently, their classmates had me abandoned with short hair asked about San's behavior in class, to which he joked the third-year student sensed the victim and how the predators pounced on the prey. The schoolboy, who was rude to the main character, hit him in the face, adding that they had come here for a joke and if he did not start talking about the case, he would knock out all his teeth, after which he had Kim San in the stomach. They began to tell the lying San about his disobedience to them and his behavior not according to concepts. The girls who saw it wanted to join the beating. At the same time, in the thoughts of the main character, how infuriating it is. Suddenly the inner monster woke up again. He asked why San tolerates this. What is he doing? He just needs to kill them. Maybe it's true to kill them all. On the roof of the school on behalf of the main character. But how dare they touch me? These scum. The urge of anger awakened an inner voice, but I decided to end everything on a peaceful note. Standing up and apologizing, I stretched out a hand of reconciliation. When my voice in my head pushed me to kill them all, trying to shut him up, I only received a statement about their murder. But this is not possible. Laughter was heard from my words. It was the laughter of my inner monster trying to find out the reason for his behavior. I received an answer in the form of the fact of my murder. While I was in shock, and realizing this fact, the guy with short hair decided to beat me even harder. He hit me in the face with the words that I did not understand what was happening. When I got over the shock and agreed with his voice, I grabbed his hand and a thought flashed through my head. And what if I squeezed it harder? Despite his screams, threats and blows, I unknowingly did it and realized what was happening. I just thought about it. I didn't want to. Seeing the condition of his friend to other guys who attacked me trying to beat me, but they didn't work out. I didn't feel the force of their blows at all. Not being able to tolerate it anymore, I kicked the leg of one of them in the end. His bones couldn't stand it and broke when 2 of the 3 were lying on the ground. The third tried something to say, but could not utter a word. Turning to face him, I slapped him in the face. He tried to stop me, but I continued. The blow. The enemy's skull was covered with cracks. 3 of them were lying on the ground. The 30-year-old who started this mess asked who I was and what I was doing, but when I got closer to him, he started wattering about forgiveness, but I didn't care and I didn't stop there. I also beat those girls who are standing with us on the roof. The emergency department 3 were lying on their beds and moaning in pain. One of them offered to call teach and a patient with a broken arm answered him about the inaction in this situation, mentioned a guy with a completely bandaged head just mumbled something. The guy with a broken leg brought up this topic again because they did not collect all the money and if they're saying Sunbi finds out about it, to which one of them vaguely agreed. The schoolboy with short hair replied that there would be no problems with Taijin, and if the saint found out they would be screwed for not doing the job. Suddenly, the door to the ward opened. A blonde man in a black turtleneck and a blue jacket walked into the aisle. It was a first-year student of Young Sun High School young age and calling 3 disabled patients and asking what they were doing here. He received incomprehensible mutterings about someone in response. After the incident was explained to him, he told him to rest and recover. When Taijin was about to leave, a short-haired man called out to him and warned him not to even try to avenge them. Did not understand the reason for his words. Young Tae Jean asked about her in response. The patient, who was trembling from the memories of Kim San, said that this kid is not a man, just a monster. Dae Jen began to compare the main character with a forest beast, but he was interrupted, saying that he did not realize the strength of the culprit of their condition. The first-year student, who still did not understand anything, told them to explain to him in a human way, to which he again received an answer about San's non-humanity and his incredible strength from the words of his friend. The others began to tremble with fear. Seeing this, Jean pondered. Evening. 2 guys were walking down the street talking. It was Tangent and another one whose name we don't know, but he had brown hair and glasses. He was wearing a Young Son school uniform. An unknown god decided to find out from Tajin what he was going to do with that scumbag, but he didn't understand who he was talking about when the bespectacled guy clarified that he meant the guy who beat up their people. Tajin said that he was crazy, because it's obvious that if he goes to take revenge, the type of all bones, he will be counted. But the brown-haired man did not understand this because John Tajin is the thunderstorm of the Sindor M district. Dejen explained to the naive boy that if this madman sent 3 guys to the hospital and young Sheik had a broken femur, then how could he cope with him alone? Having understood the situation, the bespectacled men lagged behind him, and what if the thunderstorm of the center of district suggested that he had superpowers? Suddenly Taijin was called out, and annoyed Jean turned around and saw his son Bi Nim, a student of Young Sun High School, a gang leader, a third-year Chun Jong-soo, and immediately calmed down. He wanted to know what these jerks were doing here when a nervous Change-in greeted him. He asked if he knew what the day was yesterday. The first-year student immediately replied that it was a fundraising day in data, that they had a small problem, but they would quickly sort it out. Interrupting his subordinate with a blow, Yong-soo said that he was completely relaxed and whether he was living well. The embittered Taijin apologized to his son V. When Yong-soo told him to have the money tomorrow, because he had spent almost everything, Taijin apologized again. When Yong-soo was leaving, the two guys said goodbye to him, to which the gang leader's escort scoffed at them, telling them to work harder. When they disappeared in the distance, De Jian growled his teeth that if it wasn't for Sun Bi, he would have beaten this escort, and he was tired of Sun Bi himself. He already wants to give up everything and leave. But the bespectacled men began to dissuade him, because if he left, Jimmy Yong-soo would give so much that it wouldn't seem enough. De Jian was ashamed of his current situation. If he had a strong ally, he would not be in such a situation. Suddenly Taijin came up with an entertaining idea. He remembered about that madman. The thunderstorm of the Sinduram district laughed. The bespectacled men, who did not understand anything, asked when he was up to. De Jian told Tom that if he manages to settle one thing, it won't be difficult for him to bring high school students to their knees. The next day, high school and Manju, Kim Sang said goodbye to Jun Saab and went home. On the way, he was thinking who he should rob today. Suddenly, he came across two students of the Young Sun School. It was Taijin and his bespectacled ward. Taijin asked Santa if he knew him. Kim San immediately recognized the thunderstorm of Sinduram because he had heard about him more than once. De Jian is successful in everything he fights, well studied as well, and even handsome. He became famous in high school. The main character immediately thought that he had come because of the incident. After receiving a positive response, he immediately said that he also knew who came. Sam was from Class F. He asked if Sam was the one who offended his friends. The main character asked if Agent really came to take revenge. After receiving a negative answer, Kim Sen asked why he was looking for him. Without delaying for a long time, Taijin told the reason for his arrival. He wants him and Sam to unite and take over the Young Sun School. But suddenly he was refused, and the main character was about to leave. Deegan in a panic began to list the advantages of their joint work. And when it came to money, San stopped. Kim San wants to be a villain, and a real villain should always have money. Besides, he does not have to wander around the city at night in search of gangs. Realizing that he hit the bullseye, De Jian began to lead their conversation in the right direction. But first they need to change the place of their conversation. A day, a cafe, 3 schoolchildren sat at a table and had a conversation. Taiji asked Sen how to plan for the conquest of the Young Sun School was, to which the incomprehensible Sat asked, since he was so good, why not do it alone? Why would he do it for this? Confused by such a question, Thunderstorm, Sinduram quickly found the answer. It's all about Kim San's strength, because he can't compare with him in this aspect. To which Sen asked with skepticism in his words, isn't Taijin strong, and how does he know what kind of power the main character has? To which the blonde suggested that Sin was a Superman, and by the reaction he realized that he had hit the spot. He asked why he was hiding it, to which Kim Sang translated the topic. He admitted that the plan was good, but they needed to clarify some points. Namely, he would not obey anyone and would do what he wanted, to which the third, who had been silent until now, rudely spoke out in San's direction, to which Taijin shut him up and agreed to these conditions. He also offered him to become the head of their gang as the strongest, but Sam quickly refused and said that it would be better to let Agent be the head. When they shook hands, Sam was at a loss because Taijin guessed who he was, but since he was offering him money, he decided to accept. Nothing terrible will happen, right? The story of Chun Jong-soo. In fact, I was never particularly strong, but I was always gradient with a nasty character. Actually, I was too lazy to live according to my conscience as a good citizen, so I turned onto a slippery slope and became a bandit. I felt like a fish in water. I tried to win in a fight at all costs, because only the strongest survive in this world. The word defeat did not exist for me, and when I was in high school, I was such an authority that every dog knew me. I was the king. I liked being on top, and then I moved on to high school. Yongsan High School on behalf of Jong-soo. I was walking with my guys when suddenly someone called me. He asked me if I was Chun Jong-soo and that I was famous. This Sunday was a year older than us. At the first meeting, he pissed me off with his dismissive greeting. When I asked who he was, he replied, but the leader of the second-year gang was about Gi Tae. I heard about him. They said he was the son of some martial artist. He was not a bandit. He did everything fairly and lived according to his conscience. He had such an arrogant face, and I wanted to smack him. Unable to stand it, I will offer him a one-on-one duel, to which he agreed with a warning. He was strong. After the fight, I was lying on the floor, and he was unharmed. It seems he also owned a martial arts and was really strong. I tried my best, but it was still no use. I couldn't beat him with a smile on his face. He offered me to eat noodles, and at that moment, he seemed cool to me. Since then, we have been inseparable, and we didn't care about the age difference. You cherished me, he liked me. He said he was impressed by my persistence and aggressiveness. We became friends. Yun was easygoing and always behaved like a real man. A year later, the whole school was ours. We did what we wanted, without any hesitation. It seemed like we had the whole world in our hands. However, we beat up some kids because he didn't want to give us his watch, saying that it was an heirloom. Later Young found out about it. He was very angry, saying that we had gone crazy creating lawlessness lately. He recently visited the police station because of the rumors that have been spreading lately, and all because of our actions. I decided to stand up for the guys because I ordered them, and I'm also to blame. He didn't want to admit that we were bandits. One of the guys accused Sunbi of rude behavior, after which he received a punch in the face. He beat him with the words that we did not understand that we were not bandits. I have decided to reason with Young. I asked him a simple question: who are we if not bandits? Well, it's true, we don't study, we don't go to clubs, and we don't work. We only do what we fight and drink, and after that we are not bandits. That's since Yun doesn't want to admit it. I suggested that he fight, decide who is who, taking off his jacket and giving it to the person standing next to him. I told Young, either he or I, who wins he will be the leader of the gang. I really like Sunday, but his way of doing business has long been outdated. We are ordinary bandits and are interested in fights and entertainment. Yun was angry at me and started looking for support among other gang members, but they all agreed with my words. I did so because of a few things. We are not those honest gangsters from the series. We did not have money like them, and lately everyone is whispering about us who will become the head of the gang. The loser would have to leave school. Yun didn't agree with his condition. He didn't like this way to settle the situation, but I had a different vision. I decided to provoke him by calling him a coward and said that we would just fight without any additional conditions, and Yun agreed. Soon the news of our fight spread, and Young decided to remember my loss a year ago. The roof to school children were standing opposite each other, and those who wanted to capture it gathered around, and decided to remind Yong-soo of his loss a year ago. Yong-soo remembered these wonderful memories, to which Gaetan decided to add new ones to him, and he also wanted to teach Yong-soo lesson. Yong-soo and Ji-tae ran at each other with their fists raised to strike. Yong-soo was confident of his victory this time and shouted that he would not yield to his Sunbi this time. At the same moment, on behalf of Jon-soo, I instinctively feel strong opponents. Maybe these are also superpowers. I feel how strong the opponent is even just standing in front of him. When I saw Young a year ago, I knew that I would lose, and now about a year later, I understand that I am destined to lose. Yoon kicked me in the head, and then I fell. People around started chanting Yeon's name, and my people started getting nervous. Yoon stressed that from that moment, I became stronger, but I still don't reach his level. So I lost. He wanted to know why I started this, but I haven't lost yet. Yoon decided to help me in his own way, and I took advantage of it, taking out the rings I had prepared earlier and putting them on. I hit Yeon's kneecap, from which he felt holding his knee. I asked Yoon why he relaxed, because I haven't given up yet. There are many ways to defeat such a big guy. I told you that this is not a hand-to-hand combat competition. In a fight between bandits, the one who stays on his feet to the end wins. I told Yoon, looking at the rings, that I bought this thing just in case. One blow and your bones break like matches. Yoon remained the same, offer to climb on his back after everything that happened. That's why I like Yoon. I made the last blow to Yoon's temple. After it there were indications. One of the indignant came up to me and started rubbing that I was a coward, but I didn't get there. I hit him right in the nose, after which he fell to the floor. The indignation intensified, but I shouted, I'm in charge of the fucking school now. I'm in charge, I am. If anyone has any objections, let them come out here. I'll figure it out. I'm going to kill everyone. After these words, the indignation stopped, and I asked Ju-young, who was getting a scolding from Ji-tae, to take you into the medical center. After that, the whole world became mine. Everyone in this school obeyed me. Soon I found out that he only had written a letter of resignation from school. It was expected. He did it for me. That's how healing was. As soon as he left, I stopped holding back and started breaking bad. Behind my back I was called garbage and a traitor, but standing in front of me, they all fell silent. I created a system of collecting money and I destroyed all the rivals. Everything was easy for me because there was no one stronger than Vitae in this school. I was the king. No one dared to contradict me. Everything was just perfect. But now I risk losing my throne. Currently, the roof. Yong-soo was standing in shot from what was happening. Yo-young was next to him, and in front of him stood a column Kim Sang and an excited Dae-jin. There were many unconscious bodies of schoolchildren around them. 5 minutes earlier, when Kim Sang and Tae Jin came to the roof and announced their intentions, a huge schoolboy decided to clarify whether he understood the information correctly. Well, are you normal or what? Have you swallowed some pills? You fool, repeat what you said to Jim. My new partner was a little nervous but still decided from now on this school belongs to us. I was standing in a stupor not knowing what to do, so I decided to just keep quiet. Meanwhile, while the kings of the school were still talking, is it April Fool's Day, or did you decide to prank us for no reason? Taejin clearly lost his fear, or else he believed in me a lot, but his tone was confident. What's the big deal? After all, you also took over the school in the second year of study, why can't we? But the three fake kings continued to mock. Ha. Well, actually, that's funny, ha. And they seem to be serious, ha. During all this time, I haven't said even one word, but I had a lot of thoughts in my head. That's the first time I've seen high school students so close. Although nothing special, ordinary Gopnik. I think I'm nervous after all. Is it because they're older? The flow of my thoughts was interrupted by these Gopniks. Who's the little guy? Are you running errands for Taejin? Yeah, they seem to have gone completely off the rails. Meanwhile, the big guy decided to ask his leader, well, what are you going to do, Soo? Will you rest? Should we figure it out ourselves? It was clear from Soo's look that his ass felt danger, and his thoughts were racing. Who is this guy? Who is he? I've never met him. Why was I seized with a chilling horror? Is that just me seeing? Is he even human or what? Apparently the leader of this gang still had some ability, at least to feel the danger with his ass. This was confirmed by my silhouette in his head as well as his thoughts. No, that's not even the point. If such a thing really existed, we'd all be screwed. My companions, or one might say servants, felt surprisingly confident. Soo, yes, you arrest. We'll sort it out ourselves. I tried to warn them that this could be a mistake. What? Wait, this guy is dangerous, but my gang didn't listen to me anymore. Apparently out of fear, my words weren't convincing enough. The whole crowd, the gang, began to stretch their limbs preparing for a fight. Soo let us stretch a little too. Well, that's it, you're finished. Meanwhile, Taejin turned to Kim Sang, that is to the main character, dignity. Well, I probably won't fight it. Can you handle it alone? My first words came out confidently. Yes, I can handle it. But still at the last moment doubts took over and I said in an uncertain tone, perhaps the fight is about to begin. The gangsters have come as close as possible. Suckers, get ready. John Taejin. The genie himself had already moved behind me and threw me one last time. Sam, don't let me down. It seemed that Sean was already safe. If I lost he would be able to quickly escape. But suddenly more Gopnik appeared from behind. Come here, asshole. Where are you going, Taejin? Without thinking for a long time, apparently on instinct, I suddenly appeared in front of this Gopnik and sent him flying with a strong right-hand blow. The partition saved him from falling from the roof. A peculiar question mark appeared on the faces of each of this gang. What the? Who are you? What did you do? How did you do that? You threw him several meters away with one blow. Suddenly, everyone heard the trembling voice of leader Soo. To kill, but due to the fact that he was all cowardly from fear, all his subordinates did not hear what he said. What? Soo, what did you say? And at that moment, probably the whole city heard the voice of the leader of the Gopnik. I said, kill him. Kill him quickly. He has to die. You will hurt yourself to a pulp, but kill him. Apparently, the fearful qualities of the leader made it clear that soon he would no longer be the king of the school. But Soo's scream became the starting point, because after it the whole gang attacked me and Tae Jin, and the leader continued active brain activity. I instinctively feel strong opponents. However, there are many options to kill someone who is stronger than you. Hyena is capable of killing a lion. That's just it. At this moment, Soo's face needed to be seen, no matter how much he wanted to, no matter what he thought. But the final thought made him realize his loss. The hyena can't defeat the dragon in any way. And less than a minute the whole gang except for the leader and the big guy was lying on the floor and begging for mercy. Meanwhile, Taejin was already mocking. Well, I think that's enough. Hey, you give up. I never thought that there were such loyal people in the gang of Gopnik. But the big guy standing next to the leader will see me Soo run. I will buy you some time. What a monster. But this was not to come true, because as soon as he flew up to me within striking distance, the big guy had no more chances to escape. At that moment, I finally realized that I have no equal. With a confident tone and gait, I started walking towards Soo. Maybe enough already. And all that the former leader could do was tremble with fear. And of course Tae Jin couldn't stay away without saying a word. We're in charge here now. Despite all the fear, Soo was not going to give up. He's angry. You could see it in his face. That can't be. What the hell? He thought and said, damn, I got it. But his hand was frantically searching for something in his pocket. But this is my school. He kept talking in his head. Finally, Soo took the brass knuckles out of his pocket and put it on his hand behind his back, showing with all his looks and words that we won. But the thoughts in his head were completely different. How dare they encroach on my throne? Taejin, apparently not believing it himself, relaxed and began to speak in a cheerful tone. What really? You admitted defeat, didn't you? Are we kings here now? But while Jin and I were having fun chatting, Young-soo continued to plot revenge, calling us pigs in his head. The haha, we did it. Now we're in charge, Jen told me. Yes, congratulations, I answered. But Young-soo didn't share our joy. How dare he bring this monster? The losers are miserable. There's only one boss here and that's me. I got up with such difficulty. I can't back down. Hi to no one. I won't give up this place. Finally gathering all his willpower into a fist, Young-soo decided to show what he thought of us and screamed in the school. I am the boss of the school. I'm the king here. And with all his strength, he swung his fist, which was wearing brass knuckles, in my direction. Since I had been relaxing for a long time and chatting sweetly with Taijin accordingly, I did not notice the blow. Unlike my new friend who tried to warn me at the last moment, it was too late because Yeon-soo's fist was already counting my teeth nicely. The former king smelled blood and smiled, hoping that it was over. Meanwhile, I didn't even budge after his blow. When Yeon-soo's hand dropped, he saw my face completely whole but very angry. Oh well, these fools always do that. Young-soo naturally couldn't believe it. Yes, it's impossible. How is it? I grabbed his fist, preventing him from returning his hand to its natural position. After that he squeezed with such force that the brass knuckles bent and the whole neighborhood heard the crack of his bones. After that Young-soo fell to his knees in front of me. It's a pity that from the pain Taijin's face, meanwhile, transformed. He was scared, although it's strange why, because we are friends with him. Did he bend steel with his bare hands and gives? He thought. I didn't understand how or why, but Yeon-soo must have finally gone off the rails. He blew himself up and started swearing at me. It didn't last long. My last blow to his face ended the sufferings. Now you can definitely breathe a sigh of relief, which is what Jin. Wow. Send it. You're just awesome. We're definitely in charge now. I can't believe it. You really beat them. We have the whole school under control. He shouted at me and I turned on the insecure guy mode again. Oh, yeah, congratulations. Taijin continued to rejoice. He rejoiced so much that it seemed as if he had beaten everyone. That's just fine. Haha. We are kings. A few hours later evening came. We had said goodbye to Taijin a long time ago and I was walking down the street alone. Suddenly, the footage of today's fight began to pop up in my head and I sighed. Finally, I'm really happy, continuing to think. Yeah, really funny. They say he was a legendary leader, and as soon as he was lightly hit, he flew off a meter. A worthless bug, and Taijin is still soaking. Did he really want to be in charge? The leader of the school? Well, in general, an enviable position. However, I stopped and looked up some kind of it. It's too small a position for me. It was the middle of the night outside, and only the light shone from my window at home. I was lying on the bed. I still couldn't get to sleep. I have experienced too many emotions during this day. The flow of thoughts still did not stop. Is that all? Is this really what I dreamed of? Become a boss at school? Too easy. It was like a fight in kindergarten. Suddenly, pictures of a famous hero popped up in my head. I would also like to become like him. I also want to become famous all over the world. That's just not a hero. I was at home for a few days thinking about everything that happened that day, but one day I decided to visit the school because of the flow of thoughts at night. I didn't get enough sleep and yawned all the way. Damn, do I really have to go to school like this? And what should I tell the teacher about my absenteeism? My yawn was interrupted by Taijin suddenly appearing. Hey, Sam, did you just come in? And are you an exemplary student? Haha. And where have you been for a few days? Didn't even answer the phone. I'm worried about you. Falling into a stupor, I answered. I didn't do anything special, but in my head, I thought of something else. Why is he making a friend of himself? And by the way, Jinju Sunbi left school. Now this school is completely in our hands. He stunned me with such news, but I understood what he was leading to. How could I forget? He doesn't need me but my strength. Taijin kept telling me the latest news. What are we going to do now? By the way, this schoolboy has been behaving abominably lately. Now Changsu is gone, and they don't care about anything. Those bastards. Can you deal with them? I thought it was a bad idea, telling him that it would be superfluous. Suddenly, on the way to school, our sweet conversation was interrupted by some bully who caught Jin's shoulder. Everything would be fine because the big guy even apologized, but Taijin apparently went completely off the rails, counting heavily on me. Damn, it hurts. Hey, you stay where you are. Come here, you bastard. No one would have tolerated such an attitude towards himself, and turning around the bully made an evil grimace. What? What did you say? You told me that. As soon as the bully turned around, I saw beads of sweat begin to trickle down Taejin's face. Oh, Kim Young-jun. I immediately realized that my friend knew this man. Burned Yoon Taejin from Youngsan School, said the bully. Apparently this is some kind of important person or a strong one, because Taejin's whole fuse was taken off by hand and he began to apologize. Who is he that Taejin talks to him so respectfully? I thought the big guy approached my friend and began to pour out questions. What have you been doing lately? I often began to hear about you. The difference in size between them immediately became noticeable. Tae-jin started awkwardly trying to get out of the dialogue. Yes, like this. Nothing like that, of course. Suddenly, Kim started openly threatening Jin. Be careful, and then you know me because I can send you to the hospital. Then he noticed me. And who is this little one next to you? Did you start extorting money from children? Tae-jin, considering that the threaded past, decided to introduce me as his friend. I, still not having learned to be sure, greeted him. But my face looked as if I had seen the most terrible villain. Our eyes crossed, apparently considering that I was not worth his attention. Kim abruptly turned around and began to leave. Okay, rascal, behave yourself. They went. Suddenly I noticed that Tae-jin relaxed and decided to ask him, what is it? Why are you walking straight in front of him? Who is he that you are so afraid of him? And Tae-jin began to explain. Don't you know him? Oh, yeah, you don't really know anything about the gangster world. It's dead bear Kim Young-jun. He's a bear from the young team. He's from a team of heroes. Tae-jin said. Who are the young? This is a team of young teenage heroes. They are more focused on crimes committed by young people. Of course, they are not as strong as adult heroes. However, this is still a team of superhumans who surpass the strength of an ordinary person, whom young heroes. So he's a hero, too. I asked because I didn't know anything about them at all. We continued walking to school and Tae-jin continued talking. Well, yes, you're kind of superhuman, too. By the way, can I ask you something? And you, can you defeat the hero? It was an interesting question, the answer to which I would like to get myself. How strong are these heroes? If you look at the Respo, it doesn't look like an ordinary human force. Will I be able to defeat the hero? The main headquarters of the heroes. The men we just met decided to visit the headquarters. Respo, it's me, the bear. He told the main character of humanity. Oh, Misha. How? What are the fates here? Said Respo. Yes, I came to see the blue cat, but if you're busy, I'll come back another time, the bear said uncertainly, but Respo allowed him to come in. At the same time, the superhero himself was sitting on another person they were fighting. I just decided to teach a lesson to a lousy dog. So you say you're looking for a kitty? Respo spoke to relaxed as if he was lying on the bed and not fighting with some villain who threatened to kill him. In fact, it turned out to be not a villain, but another hero who decided to face off with Respo. With a few light movements, he appeared on top of the Respo and made a painful hand grip, after which he told the bear where the cat was. Entering her office, the cat immediately asked, "Did you bring the investigation report?" The bear confirmed it. Nothing has changed. The girl continued, "The leaders of the schools are still the same, and nothing has changed in the gangs themselves," said the cat. After that they started a dialogue. "Yes, they fight anyway. The school children," says the bear. "Don't forget you're a schoolboy," to the cat answers. "Is it possible to compare me with them?" The bear asks. "Well, what makes you different?" The cat retorted and was suddenly taken aback. "So wait, has the leader changed at Youngsan School? Wasn't John Jong-soo the boss there? Although it is clear his character is disgusting, but he is not one of those who is inferior to his peers." The bear confirmed her conclusions. "Well, he bullied a lot." So the kid finished playing. The cat looked at who became the new boss and was surprised using Tae Jean. "What is he, a first-year student?" The bearer replied. "Well, to tell the truth, I was surprised too." Then I told the cat not to worry about the school. The cat in any case broke through the information, and no matter how the bear is shorter took this school seriously. Since the bear didn't care about these things, he decided to invite a beautiful girl on a date, but the cat broke off all his plans, insisting to take the Youngsan School seriously. Then she threatened to kill him if he was disrespectful to her again. The elite gym with a lot of exercise equipment was illuminated by the sun whose rays fell through the windows, but who knows what is happening in the locker room. A huge bodybuilder posing with his muscles asked the bear, "What did you say that to the kitty? And you're good. You survived her beatings." The bear was confused by the big man's words and perhaps not by the words. "Stop it. Can't you be a little more serious?" Quickly throwing on a t-shirt so as not to embarrass the bear, the bodybuilder sat down on the bench and began to swing his biceps. "Do you like the blue cat so much?" he asked, and he began to tell her that one day he involuntarily hugged her after a meeting. No matter how excited the bear was such an event, but the demonstrated golden tooth by the bodybuilder as well as for broken ribs cooled him down. Just because of one hug a cat crippled such a big guy. It turned out that the bodybuilder is the strongest in terms of physical strength, as well as the strongest hero among all. The bear was interested in many questions from the big men, but the most interesting was, and who is stronger than Ale or a cat? After that the bodybuilder began the story. "Well, here Ale wins. It's obvious, he's weaker than me, but not by much. He combines the features of an ideal hero: strength, intelligence, courage and determination. He got the title of the strongest hero on the planet for a reason." Further dialogue came to the fact that it was not possible to find out the strongest hero. It is impossible to say for sure who is stronger in one-on-one combat, since everyone has their own strengths, and everyone is strong in their own way. The bodybuilder is tired of this dialogue as it distracts from training, since the bear has not trained for a long time, as well well as the fact that he is not an ordinary person. The bodybuilder threw weight on the barbell and told the bear to do 10,000 repetitions, which the bear himself, of course, was not happy about. After all, after these exercises with a bodybuilder, the bear could not engage in his heroic activities for a whole week. I stood in front of the mirror and watched the changes. It's been 3 months since I became superhuman, and my body also began to change. First of all, I got muscles. Maybe we should go to some competition. But it seems there are also problems with controlling emotions. The vein is already swollen, I said, looking at my vein. Actually, I've always been patient. Wiping my head after a shower, I heard the sound of news from the TV. Breaking news. The villains disrupted the 17th Congress dedicated to the unification of the North and the South. According to reports, the villains who disrupted the Congress and Yong belonged to the VN group, and turned the heroes from the Defenders group who were supposed to guard the event. I didn't listen to the end. Pulling the mask over my face, I started talking to myself. Why did they set their sights on this Congress of no interest to anyone? VN. Yes, a den of villains. I would like to visit. Maybe it's time to come up with a villainous name for yourself. And as for school life, I tried to avoid her. Once again, after seeing high school students beating someone, I was invited to their company. Sam, where are you going? We're going out for a drink here. Will you come with us? Yes, Sam, let's go together. And this asshole hasn't passed out yet. The excuse me, the guy they were beating squeaked. Looking at this, I remembered the very day when I was beaten and gained strength. It was unpleasant. It hurt my pride, and I didn't want to stay there. He didn't prepare in any way, and he paid for this decision very quickly. Oh, there are more hooligans. I noticed a rather large group of hooligans running around the corner. That's like they're gathering for me. Let's see how much money is in their pockets. Just a mood was lousy. How well everything turned out, but suddenly something went wrong. The bully who recently ran into the alley suddenly flew out of it as if he was thrown by something or someone. Hey, but I haven't done anything yet. Why did he fly like that? What's going on there? Do I have telekinesis, or what? Or is it before I could finish? I saw him. I warned you. You will do business again and you'll be finished. Your club is closed from today, said the masked man holding some poor guy by the collar. Did he scatter them all? The leader of the group of heroes is young. Suddenly one of the hooligans shouted at the top of his voice. Clover, why are you so? What have we done? Suddenly the masked man turned his gaze on him. You really don't get it. Yesterday's stabbing at the Gangnam Club, didn't you start it? This? The bully was taken aback. What kind of reaction? You're not good at pretending you don't understand. Suddenly, another bully will appear from behind the masked man. Swinging his stick, he shouted, I ordered them to do it. The hero abruptly dodged the blow and blocked the stick. She broke down like she was a toy. That's impossible, said the bully looking at the piece of stick in his hand. Oh, you assholes, why are you all the same? After these words, the bully received a strong kick in the chest, and his partner seemed to have decided to avenge his friend, but it was not there. With an elegant leap, the hero knocked him out as well. Pathetic hooliganism. I warned that I would not tolerate armed attacks. Clearly the girl who was hiding behind the mask spoke down. Looking at all this, I thought, what's wrong with her? She just flew up 3 meters and broke a stick with her bare hands. She was a hero. At that moment, she sensed my presence. Turning slightly, she asked in another one. Are you from this club too? She asked, but immediately made a negative conclusion. Yes, it seems not. The clothes are different. What are you doing here? She asked, looking at me. I for some reason felt a tremor in my knees. She's a hero. We must run. We must run. I'm not ready for heroes yet. With these thoughts I rushed to run, but I did not manage to run far. With a light movement, she caught up with me running along the next wall. Hey, where are you in such a hurry? She asked questions directly to the raid. Are you that unknown black mask? Are you taking money away from a hooligan? My eyes widened in surprise. How did she know? But there was no time to think. Get it, she shouted, swinging her fist. Easily dodging her blow, I prepared for the next one. Now her eyes widened. Dodged. Such words could be read in her eyes. This was followed by a kick, which I also successfully dodged. A tough, I thought. Looking at the girl, I continued to think, really a hero. She's too fast. She was clearly analyzing me too. He's not that simple. The girl thought he was able to dodge my attacks as much as twice. He definitely saw my attacks. And all seriousness, she asked, are you superhuman? I didn't expect such a question, and I thought that something bullies get too much. A simple passerby would not be able to do such a thing. My name is Clover. And who are you? Heck, I said out loud. But the girl continued. I'm sorry that I attacked so sharply at the first meeting. You're not a hero, are you? I fell into a stupor, but she kept talking. You can see by the look that he is not a hero. You are definitely not a hero. But it is also difficult to call a civilian or a villain. But if you choose, are you more of a villain? Listening to her, I finally lost control. Oh, yes, I am the one who dreams of becoming the main villain of the planet. Fantastic, beautiful, wildly promising rising star of the world of villains, I shouted, after which I even had shortness of breath. She was clearly taken aback by this answer. Yeah, I see. That is a villain. Right, good, she said, pushing her foot forward and taking a fighting stance. Since you've introduced yourself, let's start playing our roles. Hey, what? Stop. Go ahead, she said and attacked me. Dozens of attacks simultaneously flew straight at me. She was waving her fists like a madwoman. Even though I was dodging every one, her speed was amazing. And at this moment in my head, what the fuck, out of the blue? What the hell? If you're a hero, then you can do anything. What kind of look does she have? She really wants to kill me. Yes, and so fast. Fast. Wait, are we really fighting? I can quite dodge her attacks and at the same time reason in my head. If you think about it that way, it doesn't seem to be fast. No, even slowly. Slower than it looks. I can see her vulnerabilities. Can I attack? Okay, we live once. Clenching my fist, I prepared to attack. However, she apparently noticed how I was preparing to strike and put a block, so the blow fell exactly into her hand, closing the gap and protection. However, I have invested a lot of effort. Even after blocking the blow, she flew away for a couple of dozen meters and crashed straight into the wall, which cracked with tension. Crouching on one knee, moving away from the blow, the girl coughed. I was experiencing a mini holiday. I got it. That worked. I really managed to hurt the hero. Meanwhile, in the girl's thoughts, damn, I already thought that my arm would fall off. What kind of punch does he have? Do I really have to use this? Suddenly, she put the ring on her finger and stretched out her other hand, on which the watch was visible. You're not bad, she said, pulling on the ring, which was followed by an incomprehensible cord red in color. Magic, string magic. Brandishing her new weapon, she kept talking. Darkness ordered me to use it only against notorious criminals and supervillains. And you're definitely one of those. So don't blame me. The situation has escalated. This is a serious matter. Then I thought about it. The girl running at me shouted, string magic technique. Embrace the snake. A string went through my body. Heck, that hurts, I shouted. How painful, but in the nude. I was somewhat shocked. That's the first time I felt pain since I became superhuman. The girl was also a little shocked. Does it hurt? This technique is capable of cutting metal, and he says it just hurts. Then let's try it, Makara, she screamed, and an iron cord wrapped around my arm. It won't be so easy to win, she said, but we'll take your hand instead, I shouted when she pulled on the end of the fishing line. In theory, I should have been left without a hand, but something didn't work out. The cord just went deeper into my clothes. The girl did not understand what was happening in her head. She was thinking, what happened? The hit was perfect. Why didn't even move? Ah, that hurts. I thought, why are you doing this to me? What did I do? Grabbing the end of the rope around me, I easily broke it off. She clearly hadn't expected this. My weasel can withstand even a dinosaur, and he just picks it up and tears it like a thread. But she had no time to think. Grabbing my end of the rope, I forcefully pulled her towards me, from which the girl, like a worm on the end of a fishing rod, flew to me swinging. I prepared for the blow. I wanted to catch her on the approach, but she reacted to, why is he so strong? Scaly snake of protective technique. The barrier appeared in front of her. Well, it doesn't matter. Without stopping the attack, I passed through her barrier as if through glass and struck. She flew to the end of the alley and crashed into the wall. Looking at my scratched hand, it hurt me. Damn, I also ruined my jacket. The girl was still on her feet, though already with difficulty. Coughing, she pondered. Hey, that's it. Glancing at me, who rushed to the attack, she made a conclusion. This opponent's opinion is in the teeth. I should have run right away. How could I not understand this? I'm still a long way from them. Meanwhile, I was running at her with a willingness to strike. Wait, what am I doing? The fist moves by itself. The blow landed squarely in her stomach. Flying into the wall, she fell unconscious. Heck, it's bad. I was too worried. Did I kill her? Looking at the unconscious hero, I could not come to my senses until the end. I woke up only from the screams from the windows. What's that noise? We need to call the police. What if it's an explosion? They don't let you sleep. What? Isn't that a clover? He's a hero. Why is he unconscious? Oh no, the hero is dead. Who killed the hero? Call the police. No, call the hero. Stop. Who is that there? He killed her. Without waiting for the police, I crouched down, preparing to jump, and a second later I was no longer in this alley. By the light of the moon, I was jumping from other people's eyes. The condition is disappointing. Numerous fractures of the ribs, jaw, arms and spine. In addition, there are multiple hematomas all over the body. But the main problem is that the broken ribs touch the internal organs. This conclusion was made by the doctor. The hero was laying on the operating table covered in bandages and bandages. One of the heroes watching her spoke up. The clover is in such a state, her skills could match the strength of adult heroes. On surveillance cameras from the scene, the silhouette of the attacker is visible, but it was too dark and the quality wasn't the best, so it didn't really help. The girl who was standing next to me answered, "Hey, nah, who did this to you? Hey nah." Suddenly a man burst into the room, what the already standing heroes were not too surprised about. "Oh, is that you, young Jun Bear?" The bear came up to the glass and practically stared through it at the unconscious wounded girl. "How so?" Hey, nah, what happened? What a bastard dared. He yelled and his veins began to swell as if he was gaining rage by the second. Don't worry, his partner answered him. The experienced doctors work here, we should have been there. The bear barked. Suddenly the girl handed in the phone. There answered the phone itself. Damn. Picking up the phone, he put it to his ear. Yes, it's a bear, I'll be blunt. A voice came from the receiver. Any revenge is forbidden. Despite the state of the clover, no one can act arbitrarily, but the bear wanted to object but he was immediately refused. Listen, instead, I allow searches. A search party of 2 people. If you find a suspect, report to us immediately. Roger that. With lowered eyes, the bearer replied. Good, the voice continued. At such moments, you really are like a bear. You can't lose your temper. Yes, thanks. Are you okay? The partner asked. Yes, all is right, the bear replied. The guy with purple hair. I kept looking at the clover, and then he said, hey, nah, don't worry, I'll deal with everything. In the meantime, you rest. Meanwhile, in the office of the man dialed the number on the phone and called. The voice came from the phone. I'm busy. Why are you calling? Haha, sorry, I was just worried. Where are you now? Respool in VN. The slippery guy slipped past all the traps and escaped. Well, yes, he's not an ordinary opponent. He's not so easy to catch, Al answered. Isn't too hard. Meanwhile, he was looking at the reward papers. List of rewards. Nickname hello, man. Name, person. Reward rank, that's rank. Don't worry, a voice came from the receiver. Everything is under control, because of the traps I set. He spent a lot of effort. He is being followed. Hunting for this dog is even fun. Haha, excellent, but if it gets too dangerous, leave immediately. Leave? Are you kidding? I've set up such traps. That took me 2 years to do all this. 2 years. But if I lose him now, I won't be able to catch him. I have to do it. Well, yes. Since you are so prepared, you need to finish the job in general. I am waiting for good news. Haha, good. After these words, he hung up the phone. Sighing heavily, all thought about it. Meanwhile, America, Texas, there was a huge explosion and in its center stood a man with a kind of sword sticking out of his hands. A villain of the rank of a mantis respole. He shouted. The soldiers firing at him panicked. Heck, how do we catch him? Where is the support? I don't know. I've run out of projectiles against superhumans. We're going to lose like this. There was a light and Mantis was right between the soldiers. He's here, fire. But even before they had time to aim, the soldiers were defeated. He destroyed them as if they were made of paper. The commander who was watching this became worried. What a monster. Where's the hero? Where's the hero who was supposed to come? The soldier stuttered and replied. They say he's almost. Their footsteps were heard. So much dust. Wow. Stop talking. Confrontation with adult villains is nothing compared to the activities of a teenage hero. He's such a meeting before the debut is an adult hero. Don't be silly. I will immediately become more popular. The 2 heroes were heading towards the battlefield. The hero of the Guardians combat instructor K to the hero of the Guardians goes to the rank of an adult hero. Pocahontas, this is a dangerous hero of rank A. If we hesitate, our heads will fly off our shoulders. The instructor noticed. Yes, here you are, a bore. One continuous grumbling. The girl answered. Did you want to die? Finally, the commander noticed them though. You've come at last. I'm sorry I'm late. The instructor answered. We got a message. So suddenly, what is the situation? 2 regiments have already been destroyed. 1 armored division is on the verge of destruction. I didn't think an AR rank villain was that strong. The commander shouted. So this is Ments didn't respond. Catch him in Korea. The instructor was surprised. We were unlucky. The commander replied. The vehicle that was transporting him was struck by lightning. The holding sphere was destroyed. Wow. The girl was surprised. The driver should buy a lottery ticket. I wish I could say that, but that bastard killed the driver. He's very strong. Take care of yourself, Colonel. Let's go, Coco. With these words, they head into the battlefield where Mantis dealt with the soldiers. Get ready, Coco. We are acting according to the plan. The instructor said you better watch yourself, the girl replied. Mantis noticed the approaching hero's purple sword. A weapon with 2 blades and the red glow appeared in the girl's hands. The instructor also drew his weapon, jack-o'-lantern. His fist was charged with blue energy. They rushed at the enemy who was already ready to take the fight. A fight broke out. The colonel who was watching her just couldn't believe his eyes. Wow, wow. When suddenly and he noticed a silhouette. It was Mantis sitting right in front of the colonel. He held the head of the girl in his hand. Oh, it's even funny. Do you really think you can stop me like that? The colonel was in complete shock. He didn't understand how Ments could destroy to high-ranking adult heroes so quickly. Their gazes crossed and sweat began to flow down the colonel's face. It seemed at that moment he realized that his life had come to an end. Mantis himself jumped down and walked forward at a leisurely pace. There was hell against his background in the literal sense of the word, and only one word fell from the mouth of Mantis. Gregory. Meanwhile, I was sitting at home and did not believe what was happening. Everything seemed somehow unreal. I really fired a hero and even defeated him. It turns out my strength really exceeded my expectations. The battle scenes began to pop up in my mind. That was cool. A completely different feeling. Unlike fights with hooligans, it was like a dream. And this is a feeling of catharsis that was unforgettable. Without dwelling on it for a long time, I quickly put on a jacket. We need to go collect money. I will think while I earn my living. I was thinking about where I should go and hunger was on my mind. Suddenly, I was stopped by a stream of thoughts. Literally, I just had a run-in with the hero. Suddenly they're looking for me. Can you arrest today? I thought, holding the door handle with my hand. No, since I'm going then it's worth going there. Moreover, I have always wanted to go there and most likely there will be no heroes there. By the words they're in there, I mean the area called VN. If I had known then that this decision would change my whole life. The long time ago, Korea united. But the joy of this news did not last long. The authorities of the North and South pursued their own interests. This has created a huge gap between rich and poor, which led to huge social problems. This caused an explosion of discontent which the citizens could no longer contain in themselves. Korea, which became infested with villains and criminals, became a country of lawlessness that no one could control. The country that collapsed because of crimes was revived by the Knights of Justice. In other words, heroes. However, the villains who enjoyed their freedom couldn't just leave it like that. The villains, unable to withstand the counterattacks of the heroes, headed for a mountainous area, poor and harsh. Because of too many villains, the country has abandoned this territory. It became known as the Blue Hell. Entering there meant death. This place is a huge gem plateau. Currently, the plateau is administered as a walled territory independent of the country that is connected to the world by 4 gates. Soldiers guard the region around the clock. Meanwhile, the interest of tourists, blah, blah, blah. I was sitting at the table and reading about all this in a book called Secrets of the World. I go there, but it's probably not the best idea. That's what I thought once when I didn't know who I wanted to become. But now I was standing right in front of the gate. There was no limit to my surprise. Wow, I thought this wall is really powerful. It was difficult to describe the height of the structure. Even the walls of the Titan's attack can compare to this one. Is this an information sheet from the plateau itself? I wondered when I came to the sign on which 2 warnings were written. First, residents of the plateau should attach a locator when going outside. Second, anyone can enter the plateau but there is no legal protection inside the plateau, and the state is not responsible for everything that happens inside the territory. These warnings sound cruel. Then I shifted my gaze to the entrance, which was guarded by 2 soldiers with machine guns in their hands. Going in there at night like this would be too suspicious, so I started looking for a way to get there. I noticed without thinking twice and calling myself a fool. I crouched down deeper and jumped straight into the sky. From above, the wall didn't seem so big. I could even see the blue hell from the inside. Just a few seconds later, I was already in place, landing gently. There was no limit to my anticipation. I'm finally in a place where I can become the most powerful villain. Everything seemed beautiful to me. It seems to be ordinary trees around, but for me, it was not so. Although it's really beautiful here, I am sure that if this place had been made a national park, there would have been no end of people. Going deeper inside, I saw buildings that look like they are about to fall apart. It's amazing how you can live here. But looking around, I saw a large crowd of people. They don't look like district punks here at all. Everyone's faces are like the villains from the comics. I'm definitely not going to collect money here. Walking through the blue hell, I still couldn't figure it out. It's a village or it's a forest or even a city. I thought it was very dangerous here, but so far everything seems to be fine. Everyone looks scary, but so far, no one has climbed. There's a special atmosphere here and the views are pleasant. You have to come from time to time. And at this time, while I was walking in the same area, Respoll, one of the most important characters in the world, was chatting the villain. Suddenly, the idea came to me to return home before it was too late. This thought was interrupted by just the same Respoll in the villain, but all I managed to notice was only silhouettes. I didn't even immediately understand who it was. Since I was walking next to the wall and was about to leave, the villain who was being chastised by the hero crashed into it. There was Northwest living place on him. He was barely breathing. "Are you okay?" I asked in a slightly trembling voice and noticed a wound in the chest area, but the villain did not answer me. Pretending that everything was in order, I tried to leave this place in a hurry, having already begun to say goodbye to the uncle with red hair and turning in the other direction. I had no time to take a step when another person appeared in front of me with the words, "What a slippery type." Naturally, I recognized this person, so my eyes widened, but he clearly did not notice me. "I didn't think you'd get here," wiping the blood from his face. The red-haired wounded man said, "All of course, person." Respoll answered him. Meanwhile, I stood in a daze hoping to quietly leave this place, and there was only one name in my head. Respoll. "Well done, Guy Tae. Great job, boss. I'll finish the rest myself." Ho ho, he has no strength to occupy. Thanks to Guy Tae. See you tomorrow. A man was wiping the floors in a restaurant and talking to himself. So another great day has passed. Hey, I'd rather finish and go home to buy a beer. Suddenly the restaurant door opened. "Oh, sorry, we're already close," the man said, and then turned around and looked who came. You, he said out loud. Long time no see, said the men who came in Ji and Jiangsu. That's you. The employee was surprised. A couple of minutes later, he was already cooking noodles for him, and a moment later, the noodles were already waiting for their owner. Well, that's it done. Try a masterpiece from Guy T on which a lot of effort was spent. This is noodles for real men. Even though I am an assistant chef now, I will become the best chef very soon. The men tried the cooking. Ha ha ha. How delicious, is it? The cook asked. Know that it is an honor to be my first client putting the chopsticks on the table. The visitor turned away and said her right chivo what? The cook shouted. After a while they were already standing on the street and talking. How's work going? Every day is like the apocalypse. You seem to like it, the visitor said with a smile. The great Guy Day himself became a cook. I was surprised. Oh, come on, the cook replied. Cook is too big a word for me. The reality is like this. I got out of the narrow corridors of the school, and now the world seems so spacious to me. Suddenly the visitor asked, do you hate me? I kick you out like a coward. You hate it? The cook asked in surprise and added, John Soo, if you think about it, then you were right. You called me a bully back then. I thought otherwise, but in the end it turned out that way. All hooligans are like that. Only now I've come to my senses. You see, I was right. The visitor replied with a satisfied expression. What a freak. Are you bragging now? You said yourself that I'm right. Okay, I'll go. I have things to do. Are you leaving already? Where are you in such a hurry? I'm sorry. I called your cooking a piggy. I wish you to become the greatest chef in the world. John said as he left. Why are you so embarrassing? Right, then we'll go have a drink with you, if there's time, he replied. Definitely not in the near future. I have to kill this monster in order for everyone to survive. At the same time, Reesbowl caught up with the villain, and now he person and I were standing near the fence wall. Taking a little breath from the chase, Reesbowl began to speak. You really deserve credit for getting here, but now you're finished. The heavily wounded villain was lying with his back against a wall. I was shocked. Reesbowl, it's definitely him. For a second I thought about my humiliating past, and my body refused to move. Reesbowl continued a little more. And you really are finished. Now give up. He wanted to say it, but he didn't say it. Noticing me, he turned his head and said, a child, what are you doing here? Run away from here. It's dangerous here. I was mumbling and couldn't pull myself together. That bastard doesn't even remember me. Then suddenly he remembered. Stop. This mask wasn't a DU I saw in Seoul. How did you end up here? Do you live here? I was trying to squeeze out the words meet to the villain, but I said it so indistinctly that it was difficult to understand the meaning. Letters do not bind into words. A pitiful sight. I remembered what I was like before becoming a Superman, and I felt uncomfortable. We'll talk later. Cut off the Reesbowl. Leave quickly. This is not a place for children. All his attention was focused on the villain who was lying against a wall. Hi, I'm not a child, I shouted. What? I can't hear. Turning around, he repeated the words. Baby, get out of here at that moment, and I flew into the Reesbowl. Naturally he noticed it. Ha, you and Prada have nothing left since you throw such things. Breathing heavily, the villain replied. Well, kill me already. Good. Reesbowl answered. They was going to anyway. I gathered my thoughts and said a little louder. Reesbowl, don't ignore me. I'm a villain, too. I'm not a child. Yeah, me too. But he just covered me with his hand and said, baby, I understood. Now hide behind me. It's dangerous here. Physical strength and pride were not proportional to each other in my body. Even a weak person can have a huge sense of self-worth. Despite the good intentions of Reesbowl, my conceit was greatly hurt. Suddenly, that dark voice sounded in my head again. Ha ha ha. He laughed with me. Garbage. A title suitable for a coward like you. Shut up, I said to the voice in my head. Who called me a coward? Then what are you afraid of? The ominous voice caused fear. Pull out that arrogant hand of Reesbowl. Do you want to continue playing the victim? The victim that the heroes save? What? Never. I don't want, but you pathetic bastard. Voice shouted. Coward. Garbage. What, will you run away with your tail between your legs? No. What do you know? I tried to retort, but my voice was unshakable. You're scared. You're afraid of him. Damn garbage. You're wasting my power in nowhere. Shut up. It's time to get ready. What's wrong with me? We need to calm down. Pull yourself together. Concentrate. That's my voice that if I get ready, I won't hear it anymore. Damn weakling. The voice shouted even louder. I'll have to do everything myself. What? What the hell? I'll show you what real power is. Reesbowl, who was standing in front of me, once again tried to protect me. Baby, wait for me for now. I'll take you home when I've dealt with him. I'm sure he won't attack you, but just in case. Suddenly he felt something. Something dangerous is behind you. What? But after a moment, my hand pierced his chest. Pieces of flesh and blood flew to the ground. And what for? the hero said in surprise. Respawn couldn't believe what had happened. The child who only occasionally flashed in the news about the skirmishes now pierced his chest. The hero began to call a fan through spitting with blood was able to squeeze out the word damn person. The villain who was sitting against a wall opened his eyes wide. Apparently he didn't believe it either. I was still standing with my hand in the chest of the Respawn, but it didn't last long. Suddenly, a powerful blow to the face sent me flying far away. A huge column of dust rose into the air. I was fired like a cannon. Respawn fell to his knee. The wound turned out to be really fatal even for such a hero. His thoughts were disordered. A mortal wound. How stupid, I thought there was something strange about his presence here. I was too distracted by person not happening. How could I not react until I was pierced through? Even if I was too careless. That's what Respawn was thinking at that moment. Then he said, damn, he was superhuman. But before he could finish, huge claws appeared from behind the rocks in the place where I flew away. They were more animal-like or even demonic. Respawn and person paid attention to this, waiting for what would happen next. And suddenly in the dust that had not yet settled, a purple eye opened. The hero already familiar to us, namely a pink-haired girl in a mask, suddenly turned her attention somewhere. The girl sitting opposite her with white hair and eyes asked what had happened because she noticed the anxiety of the interlocutor. Also, a bodybuilder already familiar to us was sitting next to them. The girl in the mask decided to ask if her friends had heard any sounds, but the comrades did not understand what she was talking about. Listen, since you invited us to meet, can you take off your mask? Shouldn't we show ourselves to each other already? The big guy asked. Shut up. Do you have extra teeth? Only you mix alcohol and protein shake, said the masked girl, who continued to sit and drink with suspicion on her face. Panel's house. One of the strongest heroes. He was standing in his bathroom and talking to the mayor of the city. Haha. Yeah, of course. I understand everything. Al started but was interrupted. Exactly. It's crazy. Because of the darkness, the hero is a hero. But if darkness kills all criminals, as it is now, then what should the military and police do? He also belongs to Grigory, albeit unofficially. And 3 heroes of the War of the North are on his side. Yes, don't worry, I will talk to darkness, Al answered. Writes only on you and hope. Thank you. Well, we didn't have a dialogue with the Russian blue. I hope for you, said the mayor. Yes, Mr. Mayor. Don't worry and go to sleep now, continued. But suddenly something caught his attention. At full speed, he jumped out of his apartment right onto the roof of the house. Standing on it and looking into the distance, his face was too scared. The mayor was also scared and asked what happened. At this time, apparently the hero was running to the rescue of the devil through the blue hill and muttering to himself, damn, why doesn't it come out? Did this hippie really run there? Oh, this scumbag will definitely mock suddenly. And noise in the sky caught his attention. Damn, I almost laid bricks and these are just birds. He wished he could relax, but stopping abruptly, he wondered why are so many birds alarmed in the middle of the night? Maybe a fire. Respawn and person were looking into the distance where I was standing, except my appearance didn't look human anymore. A black haze was coming out of my body. 2 horns had grown and my eyes were purple. With my frightening gaze, I looked at them. Respawn immediately began to assess the situation. A monster cannot be. Is it really a monster? How is this possible? Was this kid a monster or obsession? But this is too much, he wondered. That's exactly what person said. Why is there a monster all of a sudden? And this aura? I didn't let them think for a long time, jumping sharply towards the hero and the villain. Respawn didn't even have time to react as I was right in front of him and tried to hit him in the chest. Still, it's not for nothing that he is one of the strongest heroes. It would be strange if he couldn't dodge a direct blow to the face. Damn, this is not the time to stand and think, he screamed and lunged for a counterattack, after which he hit me in the face. Apparently, he hoped that his strongest blow would be able to do something to me. But without even stirring up, I began a series of numerous attacks. After that, he raised his hand, concentrating a huge amount of energy to attack. Respawn was still able to evade this. Looking around, he saw a huge rift from my attack and wondered in his head. He just waved his hand. I won't be able to resist him. Then I decided to apply one of my techniques, a blow of justice. Respawn raised his hand up and concentrated a strange blue aura, then launched it in my direction. The hit was right on the spot because I didn't even budge. Perhaps this attack would have killed someone else, but without even thinking, I immediately rushed to them for a new attack. At the same time, around my hands and soon around me, the space began to distort. He didn't even wince even though I touched him. Incredible durability. Response shouted and applied a new technique. Fire and spirit full protection. After that, a huge wall with the face of a demon came out of the ground. But unfortunately for him, I could not break it. I tore this wall like an ordinary leaf, and in the next moment, I rushed past the Respawn, leaving him far behind, standing to stand already without an arm up to the shoulder. That huge jet of blood sprayed in all directions from Respawn's shoulder. I finally stopped and looked in his direction. The hero, gathering all his strength into a fist, grabbed a piece of the wall that he had created earlier and threw it in my direction with all his might. A huge column of dust and fragments of stones rose. It was already noticeable that Respawn was moving with the last of his strength. He was coughing up blood. and injury incompatible with life, heavy bleeding, there is no way back anymore, and also an enemy, a real monster, he told himself, coughing even harder. He already said in a voice, apparently, this place will become my grave. Still, no matter how strong you was, the hero fell to one knee and continued to think this monster is dangerous. I have never seen or heard of such a force before. We need to somehow convey the information to the others. Then he got up. He had no choice because I was already heading in his direction. A little more and we'll all die, he thought. Suddenly, I disappeared from the place where I was standing earlier. Who are you, kid? Why are you attacking me? Respoll shouted and continued. I didn't think my life would end here. It's all my fault, but it's too lonely a death. Catch the last gift of the monster. He shouted out the last words and the hero's emblem on his chest lit up. See this aura before you die. Kisses him. After these words, everything around him lit up and the stones began to rise into the air. Of course this did not stop me and I jumped in his direction. While I was flying, he used some other technique called mage and sock. After that, huge boulders began to fall on me. In just a few seconds, I was crushed by a huge pile of rocks and lay on the ground. That didn't take me long to get away. Under the huge pressure of boulders I began to climb. He was able to stand up even after the blow. Incredible strength. But this is just the beginning, the hero thought and started shouting with all his might. Literally in an instant even more stones were already hanging in the air. One of the stones was of incredible size and with the words Momenta Respoll lowered his hand and a huge number of boulders flew at me again. Except this time I didn't even fall. I just stood there. Did he survive even that? What is the limit of his powers? The hero thought and I grinned with a smile that will make any person, hero or even demon, shiver. Respoll gathered the remaining strength in himself again and shouted. Flash! The biggest boulder that was hanging in the sky started falling on me. Once again, starting to distort the space around me, I turned a huge stone into a pile of rubble with a simple movement of my hand. This time despair could be seen on Respoll's face. Haha, it's crazy, there really are no more options. The remnants of my strength. The lynx is probably coming here. If he fights this monster, he will die. He was talking in his head and raised his hand to the sky again. A blue aura appeared in the place where he was looking and pointing with his hand. We need to make sure that he doesn't come here. I did everything I could. Once again he thought, but these were his last thoughts because I was already hanging over him with my hand raised to strike. Right before he died, he said out loud, ugh, maybe I should have run after the lynx after all. After that I cut the body of the Respoll in half diagonally. It was the end for one of humanity's greatest heroes. I stood over his body with a demonic smile. Person who was probably hiding somewhere peeked out from behind the stone wall. All he saw was me standing on Respoll's lifeless body. Cannot be. Respoll is dead. What's going on here? He said, but it was unnecessary. I don't know how, maybe I heard it or felt it, but I noticed him and turned in his direction. The hero's face twisted into a terrifying grimace. After that, the demonic mode began to pass and showed my face and I asked while the mode was leaving. A second later, I was standing completely in my human form and said, are you still here? I couldn't finish. Apparently having spent all my strength I just passed out and fell down without strength. The villain, seeing this, did not understand what had happened and just wondered what the fuck. At this time the hero, nicknamed Blinks, continued to run to help Respoll when suddenly he saw a blue light whose hero I killed in the sky. Is that our hippie's signal? Has he caught person yet? Haha, damn it. So he was on the right track, but is it like the opposite direction to the tracks? Why is he calling me there? Maybe he's already caught it and moved out, that damn braggart. Well, since he did a good job, maybe buy him something. His guitar is 100 years old. At least you can give him a new one. The hero Link spoke, continuing to run after the light of Respoll, who decided to save his friend by spending the remaining strength on the so-called guiding star. Urgent news release. Tragic news has reached us on the 731-year-old Mr. Kim was killed on the territory of the Blue Hill. Mr. Kim bore the heroic name of Respoll, and more than once he saved our citizens in trouble. Many residents were shocked by the sudden news of his death. That is known that the funeral of Respoll will be held in secret. While the presenter was telling the news, Respoll's funeral was already in full swing. By all the heroes gathered in his grave standing in the rain. Even though Respoll left us to join the Lord God, his courage and sacrifice will not be forgotten. We will live keeping the memories of him in our hearts. May he find his peace in heaven. Amen. The priest sang, standing at the grave. Oh, how so? He's in a better place right now. How could this happen? The heroes, who had already begun to disperse, were talking. Only 3 of them continued to stand still. Suddenly the bodybuilder banged his fist and shouted, damn. How so? Respoll could not have died. Could not. The woman with purple hair also supported him. You did a good job, Respoll. Now you can rest. I'm sorry. When you were in danger, I was drinking. I don't know where. Leave it to us. I will find your killer and he will pay for everything. Suddenly, two people appeared against the background of the bodybuilder, an elderly grandmother and a tall man. Oh, what is it? How could this happen to Respoll? The woman said these were Princess Resin, former hero, former member of the whoring faction, one of the 3 heroes of the War of the North, the greatest hero of the second generation title, heavenly fireworks and band hero leader of the warring faction. That just can't be. How could Respoll die? What happened? Ben wondered. Thanks for coming, Ban Princess Resin. I'm so ashamed, the big man said, to which the woman replied to him. Such is the fate of Respoll. What's the point of blaming someone? Don't blame yourself. He probably knows it to keep an eye on the Lynx. He's having the hardest time right now. The bodybuilder confirmed her words. So it is Lynx and Respoll had been inseparable since childhood. Then please, there will be no help from an old woman like me here, the old woman said. But the big man supported her. Don't worry. Your presence alone gives us strength. The Lynx was the only one who continued to stand over the grave no matter what. The bodybuilder came up to him and put his hand on his shoulder. Lynx, let's go. We have a lot to do. But the hero, as if he did not hear these words, he stood and blamed himself. A masked woman decided to join the conversation. What are you talking about? Stop talking nonsense. Why is it suddenly your fault? It's all because of me. I'm responsible for the death of Respoll. I missed person and Respoll ran after him, said the Lynx. The rest of the heroes just started supporting him because they had no other choice. Suddenly, the Lynx's fist clenched tightly. Blood flowed from his eyes and the veins on his face swelled. Respoll killer. I will definitely find him. He won't leave me necessarily. While he was saying this, I was laying on the bed with a fever. The world was shocked by the news of the death of Respoll. All the heroes of the world were furious. And there's nothing to say about Grigori. Even those villains who constantly got into trouble were afraid of Grigorio's anger and tried to justify themselves by presenting their alibi at press conferences with journalists. Meanwhile, at the scene of the battle of me and Respoll in the Blue Hill darkness, the hero studied the evidence. The man was wearing a strange mask with red inserts. He came to the scene of the battle trying to understand what had happened. He saw the cracks on the ground and understood that the battle was very fierce. Darkness began to reproduce the evening when Respoll and Lynx Chaz person, but separated. Looking around the neighborhood, he reproduces everything that happened that night before my battle with incredible accuracy. Judging by the tracks, person had no strength, and Respoll in turn has energy left. Respoll and Lynx were together, so it's not surprising. Respoll had 0 chances to lose. Why? He told himself when suddenly something distracted and then he turned around. He noticed more footprints that pointed to a third person. That is to me, but only person knows about it. These are not the steps of a man who has studied hand-to-hand combat. Respoll steps. It seems the tree Spall was not afraid of him. Apparently they were acquainted, or Respoll was not afraid of him. But the first blow, judging by the bloodstains, Respoll was badly hurt. Respoll also responded with a blow, but why didn't he attack from the beginning? Respoll defended himself possibly in this position, but Respoll was already mortally wounded, and the opponent home. What is this trail? It's definitely the same creature, but why does it seem like it's not? Apparently he turned into someone else. The way darkness reproduced a battle would have surprised any of the investigators. He took out an object similar to a phone, but this thing can measure the level of radioactivity, and the scale in this place was off the scale. High level of radiation. It's a monster, also with such an incredible aura. Attack defense of the Respoll, but the enemy is strong. Tired and wounded Respoll could not touch the enemy. A blow of justice. The iron spirit even kisses him. The blows of justice of Respoll and handle practically do not differ in strength and kisses, and is not inferior to a nuclear missile in its power. Judging by the kind of attacks he used, he wasn't killed, caught off guard. He fought to the end. The last blow, Respoll is falling. And that bastard too. Apparently person took him away. Person's ally. No, he has no allies, most likely a chance meeting. Then why did he attack Respoll? Judging by the fact that Respoll did not attack first, the opponent was not a monster from the very beginning, turning into a monster, but the monster does not become completely a puppet. Some questions. How interesting. Having learned everything in great detail just by examining the place of the battle, darkness began to go into the distance, continuing to walk through the Blue Hill. The emblem on the chest of the Respoll that contained a message that Respoll wanted to convey to Grigori before his death. Dark hair, black mask, under 20 years old, height 170, trans, dark-haired and wearing a mask. And so young Respoll was defeated by a teenager. It can be, and it's also a word that I couldn't make out. Grigori sat and discussed the information received. Everyone was deep and thought transfer. What did he want to say? Handel thought about it. Transformation, the man who came into the office loudly declared. I think it said transformation, and an instant all eyes were gathered on him. Dark, that's you. Where have you been all the time? Do you even know what the situation is now? Sure, the masked man replied. I stopped by the VH on my way here. BH. Surprise appeared on the faces of all the sitting heroes. So you found out something, you must have noticed something. How to say, Dark replied mockingly. Quite an interesting picture. What, the lynx asked furiously. The veins in his arm bulged and he gripped the chair with force. Damn bastard. Did you seem interesting just now? He continued to yell in anger. Response is dead. Respool, and you call that interesting? Are you interested? Huh? What's wrong with you? What is the problem? Dark asked in surprise. Bastard. The lynx yelled and was about to rush at Dark, but he was stopped. Fucking psychopath. Lynx, calm down. He's always like that. Dark sighed. Oh, and why did you stop him? That would be a funny situation. Handel raised his voice a little. Dark, stop it. Don't you see what the situation is here? Oh, have I crossed the line? Since even the eternally calm Handel is mad at me. I'm sorry if I offended you. I didn't mean anything bad. He just said that the battlefield looked interesting. After these words, the lynx clicked his tongue and plopped back into the chair, and then he added, tell me everything you know and get out of here. Sick bastard. Looking around in his pocket, Dark sighed again. I came to help and in the end, I was doused with verbal slops. You don't change, Lynx. He fished a memory card out of his pocket and said, all the information is here. I will go. I have to leave before the lynx attacks me again. Already heading for the exit, he heard Handel's words. Dark, wait. The masked man turned around in surprise. Let's officially become part of the team and help us. We need your help. Is it possible? Dark asked in surprise. Wouldn't the dirty pigs from the management mind? The bell rang. Wait, Handel asked Dark, accepting the challenge. He spoke. Yes, Deputy Jong Hwan Sok. This is Handel. Something happened. Oh Ale, I've heard about Respool. I am so sorry. Isn't this the first time I've called you myself? That's because I'm very busy. Ha ha ha. I hope you understand me. Yes, it's all right. Handel replied without emotion. The deputy continued. Ha, you really are as kind as they say you are. You know there's an election coming up, right? I'm sure I've already heard. Ha ha. The owl didn't betray any emotions. Yes, he replied. Go on. And the deputy continued. Respool is very sorry, but the management does not want the matter to take a serious turn, and suddenly all this will become a hindrance for me in the elections. It's all got to be hushed up somehow. That's politics. When they elect me, and believe me, there are more such cases, but he was not allowed to continue. L seems to have lost his temper. Mr. Chan, what is it? Respool died. Our comrade, our brother is dead. How can you talk about elections? What kind of case is? The deputy's voice faltered. Oh, no, that's not what I meant. But the ale didn't stop. We are not in a position to forgive anyone right now. This time we'll figure it out in our own way. The deputy's voice was almost screaming. Hail Handel. Wait, but he didn't wait. The pipe was hung up. Dark, who was looking at this picture with surprise, suddenly said, Handel, you look more like your old self today. Nice to see again. Without emotion, Handel said, well, in general. Dark, are you with us? There was silence for a moment. But after a second, Dark replied, good, let's work together. Thanks, Dark. Now, let's catch this bastard. A little later, on the grave of Respool, Dark stood in the light of the moon and peered into the crypt. Then he fished a flower out of his pocket. After laying it on the grave, he went for information. It's been a long time since that day. I don't remember it, but they say I killed Repal, and my life has changed a lot. To begin with, I left school, although the director was confused because I had good grades and in general, everything is good at school. After signing the papers, I politely said goodbye to him and left. Even though the school was useless and didn't mean much, it was a bit of a pity to leave. That's really it now. So what else do I have left? She was breathing heavily, apparently running as fast as she could to get here. I already know everything. She said, are you leaving? Why? I said, confused. I'm just leaving far away. Then I leave school too. She answered abruptly like lightning. What? I didn't expect this. Why so suddenly? Joke, she replied. Everything is as usual. There was an awkward silence, but I decided to break it. Don't you have to go to class? Suddenly she spoke. Did you know that I'm actually an outsider? If it wasn't for you, I would never have had fun and laughed with the guys. I was a little shocked by her words. And what? Are you making fun of me? You're so popular. I'm serious, she replied. I've always been alone. It seemed to me that having fun with classmates was childish. I'm also from a shelter. That I do not know how old I am. Maybe I'm even older than you. Foster parents indicated only my approximate age, so it was not easy to make friends with the guys at school. Do I have to go to school? Boredom is mortal. I thought most of all, I hated the task for groups. So most of all, it was obvious that I didn't fit in. I usually teamed up with those who stayed, hoping that they would turn out to be smart guys. It was also difficult for them with such a gloomy classmate like me, and in the end, it turned out that I did not want to communicate with them. But actually, I was a little lonely. And then I heard voices. What do you really say? Well, yes, but what's the big deal? She's a little bit of that. That's all right. And that was your voice. Listen, have you already chosen your team? We don't have enough people. If you haven't decided yet, why don't you join us? And I wanted to be on the same team with you. Good, I answered. There was concern in your words, so I thought we could be friends. Having fun with friends turned out to be nicer than I thought, and there was nothing childish about it, so I was able to make friends with the rest of the guys and became who I am now. Really? I thought about it. I didn't know that. Really? They asked. I don't even remember. I started liking Jean somewhere in the middle of the semester. Thanks. That came from her, I said in surprise. I really wanted to tell you this. Thanks. Thanks to you, my school life has become fun. Smiling, she told me this. Take care of yourself and don't get sick. Suddenly, I felt I had to say something. Jean, stop. Listen, can I write to you? Maybe we can see each other again. But saying this, I understood that it was impossible. Must not. You can't write to her for her own sake. Of course you can. I will be waiting. Right. Smiling, she headed back to school, and I was left standing on the street alone. How did it happen? What did I want? Jun Saab texted me, without me. You can take Jin's gang ended up in a hospital bed after getting a loan from high school students. I'm lonely. The strongest villain. Why do I need it? But you can't catch an arrow halfway through. Maybe I was too frivolous. I've been thinking about it. A little later on the territory of Bhenum. It's too late. We've gone too far. The man who was almost killed by Risol was looking at me. The villain person. Oh, yeah, I answered, awkwardly. Pull yourself together. He encouraged me. After all, you killed Risol, a great hero and a comrade of many other heroes. People like him can be counted on the fingers of the whole world. Now not only heroes will be looking for you, but also villains who want to make themselves known. Very uncertain by confirmed. Yes, but person leaned a little closer. Yes, Bhenum, speak up. Will you still talk to me formally? I asked in surprise. Person just nodded and added, this is the only way to address him. Suddenly, the door opened and a man with pink hair and makeup on his face came into the room. Hey, boss, we're all out of side dishes. I want an egg roll. Person looked at him angrily. Gamma Jim, watch your tongue in the presence of Bhenum. Oh, how scary, he replied. Boss, buy some food. You're welcome. That bastard. That scene. That person got angry and was about to get into a fight when suddenly I'll buy it. Well, I answered. Bhenum person said irritably. You can't listen to all their whims. Our boss is really the best damage and shouted. Suddenly, there was a loud scream. Who dared to drink my coffee? Another kid burst into the room. He was small, even shorter than me, and he screamed like he wasn't himself. Damaging. Was it you again? You were told to stay away from him, you damn villainous pig. In response to this damage and only grin. Chetri, are you being rude again? You don't have any concepts at all, and not only concepts. And while they were sorting it out, person brought me a cup. Bhenum, have some coffee. Ah, thank you. Speaking of which, had happened a few days after the murder of Ripal. I woke up in an unfamiliar room. Oh, head, did I pass out? How did it happen? Suddenly, a voice was heard. Bhenum, are you awake? What? Bhenum, where am I anyway? Surprised, I shook my head and immediately noticed the very type that Risol was chatting. How good that you woke up. Bhenum, clearly not understanding what was going on. I decided to justify myself. I think you've got me confused with someone else. Me Bhenum, I don't even know you. Suddenly the red-headed guy bowed. You saved my life, he shouted. From now on, I'll call you Hanuman Dada, and follow you implicitly. What? I froze for a moment. My brain couldn't digest the information. Stop. It can't be. It was you I saw in BH. Rising from a bow. He said, my name is Person. I grew up there and lived alone. Everyone here lives by the laws of the jungle and I also live by them. But you saved my life. Clenching his fist, he shook. He was obviously honest. This is the first time I have received such care and help from anyone. You saved my life, and now it's in your hands. So I started living with Person, and soon, this is Gamma Jim, a mercenary hired for security. He may be crazy, but he's a specialist. He's definitely good at what he does. Hello, darling, he said when he saw me, though. I was so curious about who Person was telling me about, so it's you. Such a cutie, right in my taste. A little hesitated, I answered. Ah, hello, my name is Kim-san. Glad to meet you. He seemed to freeze for a moment. Glad, is that all? Yes, why? I answered honestly. Grabbing me by one shoulder, he happily said, oh baby, you're so innocent. Call me Hiding. I'll take care of you. Suddenly Person flared up. Gamma Jim, are you completely crazy? Only later did I find out that Gamma Jien is a very popular villain. So he joined us. And then there's Chetri. Can I help you with something? I asked Person every time, and each time I got about the same answer. No, Bhenum, rest. And you can talk to me informally. I was surprised. I will try. Suddenly there was a knock on the door and knock. I asked. This is the first time someone is knocking on this door. Are we waiting for someone? No, Person answered gloomily. Nobody even knows us here. Bhenum stepped back. Gamma Jim, I know. he answered and grabbed a knife. Lightly opening the door, person saw a small guy. Who are you? He asked him. Do you know him? I shook my head negatively. No, that's the first time I've seen him. Who are you? My name is Dr. Chetri. The guy introduced himself, and then he screamed. I've heard a lot about Mr. San. Mr. San, let me join you. What? The three of us froze in place. After a while we were sitting in the lobby. The guy told me. My name is Dr. Chattery. I witnessed the Battle of Santa and Respol. After that I followed Mr. San, unnoticed. What a powerful force and modest character. You are the one I was looking for, and I decided that it was necessary. Must I? I asked again. I will conquer this world. I want to give you this world, Mr. San. He shouted. What? I was in shock. So it was you who followed us everywhere. Person hissed. Argue an ordinary person. But the doctor kept talking. Mr. San, I have an extraordinary intellect, and because of this, the state and the heroes have pressed me all the time. But when I saw how Mr. San defeated Respol, I saw a new hope. Wow, wow. Gamma Jin was surprised. What kind of oppression can there be in our time? But the doctor only got angry. I proved it. That Korea with Grigory is the strongest country in the world. Sneak attack the whole earth with nuclear bombs. And when war is declared, neutralize the whole world with the help of Grigory. But I was ignored. And I may be because you're too young. I asked. But the doctor continued. Mr. Sen, this world has been rotten for a long time. Take me to yourself. Together we will change it. Damage and jumped in. Though we don't like to be bothered. Leave. I'm talking to Mr. Sam. Don't get into the conversation. Damn pervert. Wow. Shout a Gamma Jim. Look at this, boss. What are we going to do? Cut off the tongue, sew up the mouth. Hang it on a tree and leave it. Don't say such scary things with that face. Yes, please, the doctor answered. What? I was surprised. Anyway, if Mr. Sand refuses me, I will have no hope. I'd rather just die than walk aimlessly around the world. Well, die. Who's stopping you? Ha ha ha. The pink-haired man left person also intervened. Hanem Damage is right. He's dangerous just because he knows this place. I will decide everything. Let's go outside. Or will you die here? He said, but I was becoming him. Stand kill. Seriously, you can stay here for now. You can kill him. Have you heard? The doctor's eyes sparkled with happiness. Really? Thanks. Thank you very much. I will be devoted to you for the rest of my life, he said, and immediately continued home. There are 4 of us. Not bad. Then we will distribute Mr. Sand's legion like this. Gamma Jin whispered mockingly to person. Our 4 people already a legion. Tell me, did he overdo it? Maybe he has such a concept. Shut up. The doctor interrupted them. The composition is as follows. Mr. Person will be the bodyguard. He's not that stupid, person thought. Gamma Jin is our main fighter, and I'm the commander-in-chief. Damage and immediately objected. Oh, baby, and who appointed you commander-in-chief? That seems you underestimate us. How did you find out about us? Who sent you? The doctor only calmly replied. I graduated from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology with honors at the age of 7, and I have 58 doctorates. Do you think with such a baggage of knowledge, I can't find out something like this? We just stood in a stupor, all 3 of us. A real villain. For the first time I see pure evil. How can you get 58 degrees? Such thoughts were spinning in our heads. So it's settled. That remains to come up with a name. Great. I've decided now we will be called separately. Separately. It means people who will change the world. What's your name, sir? Do we really need a name? Gamma John asked. Haha. Why be so wise? Person confirmed. But I was delighted. After that we set up a house in BH and began to live together. Chetri said that it was better for him to live with us so that the heroes would not find him. That may be a dangerous place, but shit, his neighbors are much more dangerous. Our day's Schiffer is yelling at the top of her lungs. Hey, are you lying around again? We would do something at least. Well, yes. For example, washing. I confirmed. Mr. Sands should rest. Added shit through addressing 2 of my subordinates. Do you want Mr. Santo do everything himself? Is he always like this? Gamma Jin asked. Can we kill him on the slide? Person suggested. Then I'll go too. I declared. Mr. San. Suddenly chat room called out to me. Can I talk to you for a minute? Oh, okay. We went into the hall. Mr. Sen, we need to pull ourselves together. As person said, many enemies are aimed at you. Oh, yeah, Mr. San, you are surprisingly ill-informed. I just smiled. Ha, well, there is such a thing. After my words, he plopped the textbook in front of me. Then I will tell you about the heroes who pose a danger to us. The name of the textbook: Encyclopedia of Heroes by Chetri. First of all, he began. Grigory, you know them. The strongest team of heroes in the world from Korea. Next, the Keepers, the biggest team of heroes in the world from America. We can say that 60% of all heroes are from there. Recently, 2 of their heroes died in Texas, and they're a little on edge. Next, the Knights of the Temple. The team from Israel is the strongest after Grigory, but the head will die from illness any day. Now, he did not prepare an heir, so everything turned upside down for them. They say the leader is called the Lion King, and he's almost as strong as Handel. Next is Ultra Nippon. The team from Japan is not the strongest, but they are close to us geographically, and they don't like us very much. Why? They asked this jerk killed the leader, and now they're looking for him. Person looked away embarrassed. Haha, I didn't know that would happen. Now you should know which of the Grigory you should be wary of. Since Rispol is dead, there are 5 main members and 1 secret one left in Grigory. They can be divided into classes: magic experts, specialists in combat, and specialists in weapons. Todd damn. He opened the book on the page where the heroes were distributed. There were even photos. Where did you get the pictures? There are always ways to begin with the leader handle, quite popular, isn't it? A hero have incredible strength. In second place is the Russian Blue. No one in the world can compare with her in physical strength. Then the Red Lynx has trouble controlling anger. Master of surveillance. Master Jim. Retired officer. He was the strongest in the world before the advent of the Russian Blue. Next is the Darkness. He is weaker than everyone else, but he is incredibly smart and makes his own weapons. And he is so belligerent that even other heroes whisper about him. And the last Esther. She is originally from the Knights of Harem. He has 12 summoning techniques. They are all about the level of Rispol. Now, do you understand the danger you are in? Yes, I think I understand now. Now the Lynx is the most dangerous. He was Rispol's best friend. Most likely he went off the rails. Good. I answered, standing up. I'll remember. Wait a minute. The doctor stopped me, as I said the first and second number in regard to his handle and the Russian Blue. However, this Darkness, they, if you suddenly meet him one-on-one, try to avoid a battle. Didn't you say he was weaker than the others? His fighting abilities are weak, but like I said, he's incredibly smart. Be sure to stay away from him, and all his battles victory was his whoever he's fighting. Therefore, be sure if you suddenly meet him, run. Literally the next day, meet person and shit. We were standing in the middle of the street and the latter started talking. Starting today we will start the main training. He spoke with a confident tone and I was surprised to ask the main one. After which he asked, Mr. San, did you say that you reached the stratosphere in one leap? Yes, but after that time, it didn't work out that way, I replied, remembering that day. And yet it means that you can break your abilities down to that level. The guy was delighted. He passed his mood to me. After that, he put his hand to his chin and started muttering, once it worked out once, and then it didn't. So the essence may be in some kind of psychological problem. Maybe it's because of fear, because you don't know what to do if it hurts. I smiled and answered with embarrassment. Perhaps. While stuttering, after all, I still wasn't sure of myself. You have enough strength, but you don't know the basics, right? The blonde guy asked in surprise. I was embarrassed, laughed and answered, yes. At the same time I heard the word monstrous from person. Has Chetri always been like this? I thought. So I've prepared something. Should read spoke while blindfolding me, which made me embarrassed. Even sweat flowed down my face. In this training, you will need to avoid hitting the ball with your eyes closed, focusing on the sound, so you can learn to use all your senses. The guy explained the essence of the training to me, and I tried not to fall because I didn't see anything. Person was holding a tennis ball in his hand, saying with a smile, Hanem, I'm quitting. It will be easier than it seems. Suddenly, an incredible motivation came to my head and I screamed, come on, drop it, I can. The next moment person threw the ball in my direction and I heard a heavy sigh. The ball flew into the back of my head and I screamed, flying forward from the blow. The next moment the ball flew into the back and then on the cheek. Probably because this is the first training session. I didn't think he wouldn't dodge any of them. Should we spoke upset from today's training? Hanem, are you okay? Person asked, worried about me. I just stood and held my head as it was mercilessly sore from a large number of hits on it. Everything is fine. Let's try again. Person decided to defuse the situation and suddenly behind his back damage and appeared asking a question. What are you doing? The red-haired villain began to tell the essence of our training. Haha, what are you? Our boss won't even take a sword and you throw balls at him. Hearing the enthusiastic cry of the guy with pink hair, person asked, and what do you suggest? Like what they, if you make him nervous, he won't be able to concentrate damage, and replied, extending his hand behind his back. The next moment he took out a cleaver. Moreover, it was so big that it looked more like a sword. This is the only way to cut meat on the market. But smiling maliciously damage and said, we need to use this. Wouldn't that increase the concentration level? Person put his hands in his pockets and replied, wow, maybe this answer pleased the guy with pink hair. I'm telling you, he replied, chuckling that his idea was supported. What do you mean? I screamed because I didn't like it. But you can't pierce the boss with a knife. Is it worth it? Person asked himself a rhetorical question for him. Yeah, this is too much. I supported him, clinging to the opportunity to avoid stabbing my carcass. Oh, well, what are you? Gamma Jin was upset examining us, after which he turned into a natural maniac. If it gets in the eye or something it will pierce through, he said, licking his cleaver. The scene of pensive person and laughing damaged and unfolded again in front of Chetri and me. Oh, really? The first one asked. Yeah. The second one answered. I screamed again. Have you gone completely mad? Todd and boss, get ready. It is necessary to dodge properly and take care of your eyes damage, and said, ready to attack me, exuding a murderous aura. I was sweating looking at the confident guy who was already holding a cleaver ready while my thoughts were in motion. He's not really going to leave them, is he? Is this a joke? I was hoping in my head. I'm starting Gamage and shouted, raising the knife to throw, and I began to think even more. Even if he throws, I really can't be stabbed with a knife. Will it still be okay? But if Gamage throws the knife, and suddenly still there was hope for the best in my head because I had already experienced so much. Gamage, stop it. It's dangerous. Suddenly Chetri, who had been silent before, shouted. For a moment I calmed down because I hoped that everything would end before it started. Gamaged was already completely indifferent, and the knife had already flown out of his hands. Wait, this is too much, I shouted when I saw his movements and started dodging. Literally the next second the knife stuck into the wall behind me, entering to the hilt. Dodged it. Person stated the fact. Dodged. Yeah. Gamaged and supported him. Again he decided to ask a question, and the villain with red hair supported him, saying, come on. Shutri screamed again, fell from an oak tree, trying to stop two maniacs who decided to bring me down. For the next few hours training continued between us, as well as such dialogues. Boss, let's try again while it works. What are you doing? Wait a minute. Hanem, good luck. Enough idiots. Our days were fun. Our house was usually quiet, but now there is noise and uproar there every day, and let the endless jokes of my new comrades accompany the new life. It seemed to me that I finally had a family. That was a very pleasant feeling. The next moment we are transported to the main headquarters of the Heroes of Grigori, which towered over the rest of the buildings in the district. Hale was sitting at his desk reading documents. Suddenly, the door to his office opened slightly, which drew the hero's attention. Hey, why did you call? Something happened? Lynx asked the question before he could enter the office. If you lecture me again, I leave. The red-haired hero decided to warn the main one in their group, to which he replied, haha, come in, have a seat, I've been waiting for you. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Would you like something to drink? Tea, coffee? Laughing, Hale said to his comrade. The Lynx, however, just sighed heavily, saying nothing. Turning towards the exit, he said, have you nothing to say? Then I'm leaving. Lynx, stop it. Hale decided to stop him by getting up from his seat at the table, continuing. It's been 6 months since Reesbold died. We haven't found a single clue, and you're still looking for the killer. So what? Bowing his head, because of which the shadow closed his eyes, the Lynx asked one more question. Since it's been 6 months, should I give up? Hale continued to stand his ground. We have things to do without that. Are you thinking of giving up on the responsibility that is assigned to you? You're one of the Grigori. The Lynx sighed heavily once more and began to speak fragmentally. Responsibility, Gregory. Good. Then I'm leaving Grigori. Keep helping the world, and I look for that scumbag. Making the most serious facial expressions, the red-haired hero said, not ready to accept such a reality. Good luck to you. He waved his hand, continuing to walk towards the exit until Hale stopped him with his shout. Stop. This time the hero at the table sighed heavily, thinking about what it was better to say to him. Tesu, he briefly threw the guy's name, which made him stop. What the Lynx began to speak and turned in the direction of his commander, but did not have time to finish as Hale's fist was already flying into his face. The blow was really strong that the red-haired guy already screamed in pain. Then came another blow to the head, down a cough from the Lynx. After he was able to pull himself together, he said briefly, the bastard. After that he threw his punch towards Hale, but the attack was unsuccessful. Bastard, the red-haired man said, realizing that he had failed. Who? Hale's sigh sounded, looking at his friend. The next moment he grabbed the guy's elbow with his other hand. After that a strong throw into the next wall followed. How could the famous Red Lynx come to this? You're weak, Hale spoke, walking towards the guy, realizing that this is the only way he can stop him. You bastard. Only the red-haired hero could speak. While he was wiping his face of sweat and dust, Hale continued. Previously, you would have easily dodged such an attack. There's no strength left in your fists. When was the last time you ate? When was the last time you slept? Your opponent is the Reesbold killer. If you go looking for him now, that would be akin to suicide. The Lynx did not want to listen to the men in front of him, continuing to stand his ground. I can handle it. Fuck off. He was talking. Tesu, young man, was a friend to us too. You're not the only one grieving for him. Hale tried to calm the red-haired guy, trying to find common ground. I'm asking you not as a colleague, but as a friend. Helped me. Tesu, we're heroes. This time the Lynx just kept silent, wiping his face. He stood up and sighed heavily. Lynx, have you made up your mind? Hale was hoping for the best, waiting for an answer that never came. So he continued. I knew it. As expected from the Lynx. On suddenly followed by a blow to the face from the Lynx. Moreover, it was so fast that Hale did not even react. That bastard Hale held onto his nose complaining about a colleague. I didn't even dodge it. And do you eat it all? The red-haired hero decided to ask the same question. Continuing to go to the exit. The links continued too much for me, a colleague. I told you I was leaving. Still, he continued to stand his ground. But Hale was not going to stop either. Wait, Tessu, a colleague is somehow not serious. Without turning to Hale, the link said a friend's request. I'll think about it. Finally, the men in whose office they were laughed. Okay, I get you. The next moment we were transferred to Esther, who was telling important information. It's urgent. Big boss. The hero from Minchi and was defeated. The suspect's name is Moloch Beginner. It seems we should step in. While there was a commotion at the hero's headquarters, Person and I were walking down the street. Hanem, tonight's dinner will be my signature dish. You will find out what a real soy paste soup with tofu tastes like. The red-haired villain spoke with a good mood as words lifted my spirits, and I said, wow, I'm all excited. But Gamma Gen doesn't like soy paste soup. He will be offended again. Then we'll throw knives. They reminded our colleague of the guy's preferences. I don't care what he doesn't like there. The main thing is that you are all. Person began to speak with a heavy sigh but was interrupted. You, he exclaimed, turning back. Mossman, he said his name, and it was true. A huge man in a purple suit appeared behind our backs who was in high spirits. Hey, Person, long time no see, he said, a rank of villain bossman really long ago. So you're still alive? The guy next to me was surprised. Who is it? I thought, assessing the situation. Do they know each other means? Is he a villain too? Ah, that's how you say hello. And I couldn't believe my ears. Did Person himself begin to serve someone? The villain laughed at my colleague and the situation began to heat up. Is that really your esteemed Hanem, this child? The villain drew attention to me, grinning and laughing hard, continuing. Ha ha ha. I can't believe it. To see it with my own eyes was clearly not superfluous. Ha ha ha. I was just embarrassed by such a statement and stood in silence, muttering to myself, not daring to speak out loud. Hey, Mo-Zeman, are you deaf? You've probably heard who it is. Person spoke with all his anger. It was good that he continued to control himself and did not attack the man opposite us, but his patience was not rubbery. Say one more word and I will rip out your throat and throw it to the dogs. She began to openly threaten, looking at me in my reaction. A man with a scar on his left eye decided to calm down the situation. Hey, don't fuss. I was joking. Haha. I was so surprised that I couldn't resist joking. Why so seriously? Forgive my rudeness. My name is Mo-Zeman. With feigned respect, the big man turned to me, making a bias. It's not a big deal. Hello, I'm Sam. I answered him calmly. My voice, appearance and behavior don't look like a villain at all. So that's how they treat me. Hello, why is he so polite? Mo-Zeman was surprised in his head, also realizing that I didn't look like a villain, which he decided to voice. You don't look like the people who hang out in VN. Go away already. I have to cook dinner. I don't have time for you. Person continued to chase the man away, but he still continued the dialogue. Are you going home? Haha. I was also on my way to the boss. The red-haired villain was surprised by his words and decided to ask to the boss, have you decided to become madman subordinate? A serious decision for someone like you. Hearing such words, Mo-Zeman was surprised. He did not understand what they were saying to him and decided to let us in on the news. What, do you live in a tank? Don't you know what's going on in the world? Madman is dead. Squinting his eyes, the man said seriously, now it's time to be surprised by Person. I don't know who they're talking about, but their reactions scare me. What? Dead madman? How so? Who's his? My colleague continued to ask a lot of questions until he was interrupted. He resisted Malek and died by his hand, and I'm his subordinate now. Molek, this is the first I've heard of him. The dialogue between the two villains continued, which I tried not to interrupt. Mr. Malek wants to unite all the villains. Soon he will contact you and it's better for you. Take his offer seriously. Mo-Zeman seemed to be speaking with a threat without taking his eyes off us. Tell this Malek of yours not to bother him, if he doesn't want to, in a bad way. Person continued to threaten, being completely confident in my strength and of course in his own. Mo-Zeman turned in the opposite direction from us, starting to leave, and before that said, haha, quite in your spirit. So next time we meet as enemies. When he finished speaking, he jumped and flew away from us and we watched it, continuing to be silent. Interesting information has fallen out on us. Person, who is madman? I decided to ask my colleague, sweating a little. I'm not used to being in such an environment. He was a very strong villain. Now he's dead and this stubborn Mo-Zeman has become someone's servant. Person answered, alert. It was obvious that he was in a state of confusion and thinking about something. Let's go back soon. He finished, feeling the danger. It was still day outside and the sun was shining through the clouds. We came to our house and we were already met by our friends, if you can call them that. Mr. San. Oh, boss. Come here quickly. They shouted to us as soon as they saw us on the street. What is it? I asked. You got a love letter here. How popular you were. Damaged and left, waving his hand at me and telling me important information. The letter came from a certain Malek, but the content of the letter is imbued with arrogance. Chetri carefully supplemented the news. Moloch, is this the one Bozeman was talking about? I immediately exclaimed, and it immediately became clear that the man was not lying, saying that they would contact me. Give it here. Person immediately snatched the letter, starting to move his eyes over the written text, immediately seeing the handwriting, not having read it yet. The red-haired villain exclaimed, "Look at this." It was like a teenager writing honestly. The letter contained the following text: "I am Malik. I will unite all the villains, come to me and kneel. Otherwise, only death awaits you." When he finished treating, person asked, "How can you be so sure?" And then he screamed at the top of his voice, "That bastard! Who is he to tell him? I wasn't as angry as my colleague. On the contrary, I was a little scared. Shouldn't we go?" Most men said he was scary. I immediately asked person what I should do. Falling to his knees, person showed how loyal he was to me and replied in a confident tone, "Hanem, get some rest. I'll go and kill him." Shibori immediately tried to reason with our friend by shouting at him, "Must not, how do you know how many there are?" Looking at the whole scene damaged and just kept laughing like a maniac. "Ha ha ha. It's funny. Baby, go quickly and kill everyone there. How dare he treated me like that?" Person continued to stand his ground while my thoughts were fading in my head. "It's such a strange feeling. Let's just ignore it," suggested Shibori while I was still thinking. An invitation from a famous villain. That's fun. "Baby, I'm coming with you." Gamma Janatul exuding confidence, and I was still thinking. The everyday conversation of villains about whether you live or die. Things happen to me that I've only seen in manga. I felt a strange sense of pride that I had become someone important. Did I really become one of them? The next moment we are transported to VN, the entrance to Fortress G, the entrance to the cave. Two people were walking through the cave discussing something among themselves. One of them was amazement. We already knew a man in a purple suit, blonde hair and a scar on his eye. The second one, most men, was talking somewhere in the distance, leading the guy next to him. It was he who killed the hero Apollo. He will be useful to us. Mozman notified his boss, but he was silent, and the guy next to him decided to introduce himself in one word: "Hi." After which he raised his gaze, looking ahead. A cloak figure stood at the end of the cave. In addition to the cloak, he was also wearing a mask hiding his face. The villain of unknown rank, Moloch. The new boss of the villains continued to stand and stare at the two guys in front of him. "Ha ha ha. Mr. Malek is usually taciturn, but don't worry." The guy next to him tried to calm Shax down. "Good. I don't care. Moreover, we are unlikely to see each other again." The white-haired guy showed a malicious grin, continuing to look ahead. What does it mean?" Mozman immediately drew attention to these words, expecting the worst scenario. The next moment Shax jumped forward straight towards Malek, shouting, "After all, I'm going to kill him now." "Shax, no," most men exclaimed, expecting this after those words of the guy. He understood what was going to happen next and didn't want it. "Damn upstart. How dare you consider yourself superior to others?" Shax continued to shout. Even the veins on his forehead stood out and his hair was tasseled. He was ready for battle, fully confident in his abilities. The cloak person just raised his hand. By the way, she looked completely inhuman, white skin, long claws. And the next moment a strange black energy began to gather around the hand. Jax was surprised by this, but he was ready to continue anyway. Suddenly, a huge snake appeared in front of the white-haired guy, ready to swallow the attacker. It was a cold snake. Shax huddled in fear. He definitely did not expect this. Literally the next moment the villain with the white hair no longer existed. The snake swallowed half of the guy's body. Only Shax's legs were sticking out of her mouth and blood was pouring. Mozman was seriously frightened by such a sight, immediately starting to think. He killed Shax in the blink of an eye. This is a completely different level. Mr. Malek is on a completely different level. We are transferred to another place where the hero walks around the room and talks on the phone. "There's everyone here, and dark. I'm almost there." He spoke, apparently going in the direction of the one he was talking to. "All right, I'll see you in the hall. I'm already coming in." He was finishing talking. "Hey, is that you? I'm sorry, Esther. I will call you back," he said when he saw someone in front of him, which surprised him. "Hey, by what fates?" he said, looking at the three people in front of him. These were also heroes. The first one was a man in a cat mask and a black tuxedo, a hero from the Cat Dog Guardian team. The second, he was no longer a man but a dog with a human body and a tight-fitting leotard, a hero from the Wolfman Guardian team. And the last of the three, a man with red hair and a red t-shirt with for Lionheart from the Guardian team. "How are you?" "Hell," the one with the dogs had asked. "Where are you in such a hurry?" He continued his question. "Have you heard of the molecule?" He immediately got down to business, and after making sure that everyone was silent, continued. Dark got some information about him. The masked hero was immediately surprised, warning, "Oh, we were just going to catch him." Hearing his words, Hale immediately asked, "Have you found him yet?" Hale was surprised. "Not quite. You've heard about the big boss who went to the hospital, right? He died yesterday." The red-haired hero gave out important information. Damn. Hale was saddened. The dogman continued about it. "Because of this, the observer made a fuss and said to catch him urgently. K to Coco and even the big boss have already died." The masked man immediately picked up his words and supplemented them. "Keepers can't stay away. That's why we're going on a reconnaissance mission." Hale decided to warn them, but intelligence in VN is into too dangerous. Wouldn't it be better to wait and get information from us? All three heroes immediately smiled and exuded complete confidence in their abilities as they spoke. If we come back alive, let's have a drink, suggested the masked hero. My fiancée is waiting for me. I'm getting married next month, said the dogman. Don't worry, I promised my daughter that I would be back soon. The red-haired hero finished. Then they said together in one voice, do you want to croak? Haha, good. Contact us if you find anything. Hey, last without stopping them further. Good. Take care of yourself. Well, the masked hero finished the dialogue. The next moment Hale was already in the conference room where Darkness began to report the information for which everyone had gathered. His real name is Bowman. The villainous nickname is Moloch. Last seen in Incheon. Now to be on the territory of the VN of notice how suddenly he appeared, and how quickly he unites the villains around him. When Das are finished speaking, the pumped-up hero decided to clarify these stubborn and selfish villains just like that they just come to him at the first call. Darkness didn't think long before answering. It seems that there are already enough of them gathered. Apparently he intimidates them with his strength. Further, Esther decided to take the floor. He has already been joined by several fairly strong villains. How strong is he himself? Darkness picked up on her thought, but the strangest thing that he hadn't shown himself in any way before. It was impossible for such a strong villain not to leave any traces. The Lynx could not stand the whole situation. What's the point of talking in vain? Where is that bastard now? Without ceremony, he asked. It was established that he is now in VN in Fortress G, said the basic information Dark. Bell, what are we going to do? The girl with purple hair asked. Hale took a minute of silence as he could not find an answer. Lynx decided to answer for him. I mean what? I will go and rip his head off. Getting up from his seat, he snapped and Dark tried to stop him. It's too dangerous. We can't figure out the number of opponents in the VN. But the Lynx didn't want to listen to anything, especially the way he was being stopped. I don't care how many there are, he said confidently. Hale decided to support his friend. All right, let's go and rip his head off. The big guy, the same pumped-up hero, decided to clarify what then who will go to Lynx. We haven't decided yet. Everyone will go. Hale shouted confidently, forcing everyone to pay attention to him. Right now, he finished and began to take off his official suit under which there was a heroic costume. It was already the middle of the night outside and the full moon was shining in the sky, which already made me want to hell of her. I sat on a rock and looked at this moon thinking about life. Hanem, are you awake? Suddenly person appeared behind my back with them post-ordinary question. Yes, there is such a thing. They answered and saw the villain with red hair sit down next to me asking another question. Can't sleep. I didn't answer his question, continuing to look at the moon. Which person did? There was such a calm atmosphere that it was hard to believe that we were villains. Hanem, do you want to go to Fortress G? Person suddenly asked, causing surprise on my face, but I quickly gathered my thoughts and answered. No, but really, the little bit. I'm curious. This is the first time this has happened to me. Maybe then, shall we go quietly together? Suggested by the villain with red hair. I was delighted with his offer and immediately became motivated, but still did not lose my mind. Really? Seriously? But isn't it dangerous? Is it possible? Is everything going to be okay? I immediately bombarded person with my questions. Hearing my delighted tone, person laughed himself and answered, haha. Don't worry Hanem, you're stronger than anyone, and I'm not a fool either. I immediately started asking the next question. Yes, then maybe we should look there. We are not joining, we're just watching. There was a pleasant atmosphere between us, and it even seemed to me that person was my brother, not a colleague. Haha. Yes, when will we go? The red-haired villain asked. Maybe now. If Chetri finds out she will be angry, so it's better to do it while everyone is sleeping. I immediately said, realizing that there would be no better time. Good, then let's go right now. At the same time, heroes have already gone to this fortress with us. Is everyone ready? Hey, last forward, he continued by being completely serious and going forward. The others followed him. Lynx was flexing his arms. A girl with purple hair tied a ponytail so that her hair would not interfere with her. And the big guy. He's just a big guy. His muscles are ready for anything to Fortress G. At the same time, I told person as well as hailed to my colleagues, while Moloch was sitting in his cave and did not expect anything. After a while the heroes were already at the entrance to Fortress G, and Dark are weak in battle, so without them, the rest dispersed to the fortress. Hale started giving orders. Let the weaklings protect the houses. Oh, except Esther. Hale, come on seriously. Lynx confidently declared, insulting Darkness, after which he asked. His killing allowed that if I meet villains. There was no limit to his anger because he still remembered the death of his friend. No, our goal is to arrest Moloch. We need to avoid casualties. We're in VN, you don't know what might happen. We need to get this over with as soon as possible. Halo ordered, after which he uttered the last word before the battle, or rather the war. We're coming in. The first Russian blue ran inside the cave. What? Why is there no one? Has anyone seen anyone running around? She asked her, the receiver in her ear, and heard the answer. There is no one here yet. The Lynx began to doubt after a while. Is this really a gathering point for villains? more like a ghost castle. Having said that, he thought dark didn't fool us. After such a question in his head, he got angry and shouted, "They will kill a psychopath." Hale warned me, there are a lot of jammers in the VM, so the connection is bad. Be on your guard. The pumped-up hero was examining some boards, saying the fortress was simply falling apart, but it was patched up pretty well. They were really going to do something. He started to speak and suddenly stopped. Something caught his attention. "Welcome, Master Jean," from Grigory, said a man in brown trousers with suspenders and a red shirt with sleeves. He was no smaller in size than our big hero. At the same time, on the table near the villain, there was a minigun. The mad scientist Dr. Barry immediately recognized the man. "Master Jim, what a fool have you joined Malek to?" he asked, waiting for an answer. "Mr. Malek will unite the whole planet. Isn't it obvious? So I can get even more test subjects." Haha. Barry laughed and his glasses let out a glare. Master Jean was already all in anticipation of the fight, cracking his knuckles. "Mad Doctor, you can't say otherwise. Well, today your experiments will come to an end," he said with a smile. Barry immediately put a minigun on his arm. "Men of Steel, Master Jim, will my anti-superhuman weapon take you?" Barry also smiled, ready for a fight to the death. The pumped-up hero was surprised and thought a machine gun. "No, it looks more like a minigun," he understood. "What about the rifle?" the Mad Doctor exclaimed, causing Master Jim to be surprised. After that, he put the gun on his second hand, already unwinding them, preparing for the shot. "This is a two-handed minigun rifle of my production. Each release is 60 rounds per second." After hearing this explanation, Master Jean fell silent. "Think about the plan. Let's see how good you are." Barry started talking. "Die hard." He shouted the last words. A huge number of bullets rushed towards the Master Jim. Literally in a second, the whole cave was covered with fire from bullets. At this time, the lynx continued to walk around the cave, looking around. "The building is large. If I had come alone, I would have had to wander around here all day." He stated the fact. Suddenly he saw a door in front of him. "What about the door? Does it open at all?" he wondered, realizing that this was a chance to find someone. Lynx opened the door a crack, looking inside. There were at least 7 villains inside, but that's only at first glance. That and who knows how many more are inside. At one point, all the villains fixed their gaze on the red-haired hero, causing the lynx to tremble. He even had sweat running down his face. "Who came to us?" "The Red Lynx himself. Who knew we'd meet here?" Two villains who were already obviously familiar with him started talking. "Who is Moloch? Is he here?" The lynx immediately got down to business. He wasn't afraid of these extras at all, as he was sure that he would deal with them quickly. His question was answered by 3 villains. "Oh ho, Grigory doesn't even take us for people now," the first one asked. "But what about it?" the second one asked. "The person you're looking for isn't here," a third answered. The lynx immediately thought, there are too many of them, and everyone is strong. It won't be easy to fight them all. We must try to avoid a collision. Despite the fact that the lynx was thinking about a plan to quickly resolve the issue, one of the villains had already struck, throwing the lynx into the wall. The red-haired hero coughed as he listened on. "Where are you in such a hurry? The entrance is free and the exit is only feet first." "Those bastards," the lynx shouted. "I hope you've already looked for a coffin for yourself. You will die in a ditch like a devil," the villain with one eye and yellow hair said mockingly. These words were the last straw. The veins on the lynx's arms swelled and he was ready to tear and throw. "As Respol, your boyfriend. Give him my regards." "Haha," the villain scoffed, apparently not realizing that they were doing it in vain. Although emotions always affect the fight, because if you are controlled by anger, you start making mistakes. Maybe this is a good plan. But suddenly the lynx turned to the door and began to leave while the villains continued to laugh at him. "Oh, running again? Who gave you permission to leave? The further you tried to run, that was the last thing," the villain said, because at one point, the lynx stopped at the wall. After that he hit it with all his might, which caused fragments to fall. The villains immediately became serious. The entrance to this room was closed after hitting the wall broke the door. "What a jerk. What are you doing?" Despite the temporary confusion, the villains still pulled themselves together and continued talking. Suddenly, a voice sounded in the earpiece of the lynx. "It seems that there are already fights going on somewhere. Blinks, how was your situation?" The red-haired hero did not think long and answered, "It's clean. I haven't met anyone yet." Such an answer made all the villains who were inside the room surprised. "Good. Just in case." The voice in the earphone continued to speak, but the lynx decided to interrupt this conversation. "I can't hear you very well. I'll contact you later." The next moment he lowered his hand and stood in place silently. "That bastard. What did you say? Didn't meet anyone? Are you completely crazy?" The villains who were too confident in themselves made a noise. "Yeah, I didn't see anyone," the lynx replied calmly. Then he turned his face full of anger. His eyes already turned red, and then he screamed, "You're not going anywhere from here. Everyone's going to die here. That's why I didn't meet anyone." At this time, the Russian blue continued to run around the cave. Suddenly, something caught her attention. She stopped. She stretched out her hand to the earpiece and said, "Hey, guys, I think I found a big shot. Are you all getting your fists dirty there already?" When there was no response from the earphone, the girl said, "Go ahead." "Hey, you. Burned you a Mentos? She asked, looking at a man in a strange suit with white, green and black colors as well as a green mask. Did you provoke that mess in Texas? What are you doing here? She asked, after which she began to stretch her neck, continuing. Everything was interesting to me. How did you just a rank manage to kill grandfather K2? Even though he was already almost a flabby old man, and even if he was hindered by the newcomer who came with him, it was K to himself. You're not a rank anymore. Higher rank as it turns out. The girl spoke as if to herself but at the same time exuded incredible confidence. The villain continued to sit in place looking at her. The next moment O stood up and finally gave voice. You've just arrived and you're already chatting. You're showing off for nothing. Who are you? He asked, greatly surprising the girl, who shouted. What? Look at him. Villain, don't you know me? What a rude thing to say. Do you really not know the Russian blue from Grigory? The villain only caught on to one word of her answer. Gregory. Bring Respol here, he shouted. He couldn't have died. He's mine. You hit it, didn't you? Bring him here before I tear you apart. He continued to shout, becoming enraged. What a jerk. Even Respol was able to catch you and you want to swing with me. Some growths began to appear behind the villain's back, and while this was happening, he was talking. When I fought with Respol I was a ranka then. What rank am I now? He asked the Russian blue while insect legs came out from behind his back. The girl took off her outer clothes and also screamed, ready for battle. Okay, let's fight. I wanted to find you anyway. You're finished. The villain was confused. Do you want to seduce me? But your body, he said with embarrassment and coughed a little, totally fucked up. The girl did not even think that her action would lead to such an effect. What's wrong with my body? I'm actually popular. They have so. I'll show you a real seduction. After her words, the girl's hands began to increase. That feels like they've become bigger than Master Jim's. Her body continued to increase. On my sexier now? She asked, standing in a fighting stance. And really, it's better than it was. The villain replied, also preparing for battle. The girl with purple hair ran forward, continuing the diet.